5 years ago, Thanos erased half of the population of the universe. But the people of this planet brought everyone back with a snap of a finger. The sudden return of the population provided the necessary energy for the emergence to begin.
How long do we have?
7 days.
We're Eternals. We came here 7,000 years ago to protect humans from the deviants.
Why didn't you guys help fight Thanos? Or any war, all the other terrible things throughout history?
We were instructed not to interfere in any human conflicts unless deviants are involved.
By who?
All right. Well, welcome to this digression. We're actually just continuing conversation from our last digression. Today we're going to be digressing into the Fantastic Four. Actually, no. We're going to actually talk about Eternals, the new Marvel hit film that just released over the weekend, and it's getting rave reviews. I heard people are loving it. They're loving the approach. Our friend Brodsho has somewhat of a gripe with it, I would say, like a small little itch in his back that he's trying to scratch. Brodsho, why don't you talk about your experience with Eternals?
I'll do my family friendly, nice little intro before I get settled into my. I'm about to talk real reckless about this movie. Is what's going to happen.
Fantastic.
From the get-go, y'all know already from the million times it's randomly been brought up, but I'm a huge Jack Kirby fan, right? But I will say this, I'm not a huge Eternals fan, right? I've read it, it's good, but it's not like in my... It's Bronze Age Kirby, so that's the stuff I like the best. It looks really nice, but I'm not like a huge fan, so I'm not coming at it from that standpoint.
Okay.
This is not I love the Eternals so much standpoint. That's not what it is at all. Not what it is.
Okay.
I'll also preface saying, while source material is a part of what I'm going to talk about, it is not always important to me that it is exactly like the source material. Mm-hmm. There's plenty of things that have special effects by Mr. Film. Nice.
Don't get distracted, Brodsho. Keep on track here.
This is another Kirby creation, guys. So I'm gonna get a little distracted.
Are you walking around right now?
Yeah, I'm pacing in my garage.
Do some work, like clean up something while you're talking.
Yeah, right. It's
go push a broom.
Yeah.
So I'm one of those people too who generally doesn't have a problem with changing source material as long as the end product's good.
Oh yeah, sure.
Don't care.
Yeah.
Don't care. That's never change a character's motivations, change their appearance, change their relationships. I don't give a shit as long as the movie's good, right? Mm-hmm. So some little prefaces into it. I will say going into it, I was hesitant because there's one thing with like the visual aspect of it that I was a little concerned about. Is that like Kirby stuff in general is very big, bombastic, fucking colorful, brutal, sometimes messy, sometimes ugly, and that's what's great about it. This, from the trailers, I noticed right away just the characters and how they use their powers. It's all sleek and pretty, and like, so already I was a little like,
Yeah.
It's an aesthetic choice that I'm not a fan of.
It had like a godly feel to it, like serene and deified.
But in a benevolent, sleek, modern space god type feel. Not in like a true like mythological feel where everything's just big and fucking this big melodrama that plays out messily and just like, you know what I mean? Like it doesn't. So visually it didn't resonate with me.
So from not even the first couple images, but like the trailers, you're like, oh, this is looking.
Yeah. So already I was a little hesitant, right? I wasn't counting it out.
Yeah.
You know, one of the first things you see in the trailer that to me was like, oh, this is, you know, it looks different, but this is straight Kirby. Is that very first like beginning where the fucking ship pimps in on prehistoric man and shit like that. That's right from the book. You know what I mean? Like,
okay,
that's there. Little did I know that's the only thing from the fucking book that makes it in there. But
really, okay. I was gonna ask, like, what other things did you notice that were from the book that they took source from?
So, again, this is my preamble. This is my fair preamble here. Of what makes it into the movie that is from the book are the names of the characters, general costume-ish appearances, and some tangential shit. Otherwise, it's all thrown out. It's all gone.
Okay.
Nothing.
Do you have
Nothing
issues?
else.
Do you have issues with that?
Again, source material-wise, even though it is my dude, the King of Kings,
Black Jerky.
It's fucking changing source material. That's par for the course. I'm used to it. As long as it's done well, I don't care. Right? That's it. There's some things I'd like to see, but otherwise, like, it's not make or break for me. Right? But I'm walking in my house now, so it's about time.
I love this adventure we're on.
I know it is. So let's just say how I came into this, going to it, because I wasn't going to, or at least I wasn't in any hurry to. Like a day or two before I went, I saw a friend had went. They had posted on their Facebook that they really enjoyed it, and because that's what's been happening, right? Either people really enjoy it or really don't.
Yeah.
As far as people talking about it, right?
Sure. Yeah.
There's plenty of people that are. I think you're in the camp where it's just like it's whatever.
Well, we'll get there. You just keep talking.
All right.
Keep talking your talk.
All right. So I'm in my room now. So.
Ooh. Mood lighting.
Cool. I haven't been to a movie since, you know, Rona happened. This is my first movie back in the theater, so I was like, oh, I'll just go to this, right? I got, you know, Friday night, I'll just, you know, go to a 10:30 showing of this, whatever. So got my ticket. As I've said before, I think bonus of going to a movie at either the Ultra Screen or Century in general is they got the Dream Loungers, right? And if you go by yourself, they're paired off. Nobody in their right mind will grab the seat right next to you.
So you get in the dangerous position.
So you end up, yeah, which usually isn't a problem unless it was Last Jedi, in which I totally fell asleep in that. But you know, I call it super seat, right? Because you can flip up the middle thing and then recline the other chair too, and you can just sprawl out, chill. So I was like, yeah, a fucking one thing. The other positive, one of the few positive experiences in this, I went, you know, got my ticket online, and then when I was finished, they're like, hey, you want to pre-order your snacks? And I was like, what?
Yes, please.
Yeah, so they're like, yeah, fucking, you can order your shit, and then you come up and they'll just give it to you. And I'm like, well, hell yeah, I'm gonna do that. So I did that. That was great. But anyway, so settle down. Movie starts. And
the title crawl. Go into the title crawl.
yes. So now I'm gonna fucking cut loose. It's cut loose time, all right?
Got
Your
foot
boy-
loose.
Your boy is here to talk some mad reckless shit about this steaming pile of turd that is this movie.
Let's start.
All right. So from the get go, let's run through a little comic origins, okay? Just so you can get a rough idea of what the series itself was. So,
Are we really going to do this?
yes.
Just to get your frame of mind, I guess? Your headspace?
There's no stopping him, Tyler.
I know,
It's
but-
required for part of my confusion, okay?
Okay. Just preface it with, I didn't get this because it didn't happen
Yeah.
like this in the book, and...
So, again, usually not a problem.
Right.
But the Eternals in the book, the Celestials come to Earth.
Mm-hmm.
They do genetic experiments on prehistoric man. Two of the two races that come out of it are the Success, which are the Eternals, and the genetic fuck up that is the Deviants, right? Already very different from what we're getting in the movie. Deviants are bipedal humanoids, intelligent, just like, you know, the Eternals and everything. Whatever. Point of the Eternals then is to watch over humans, just in general, not from the Deviants, although they are a continuous thorn in their side. They are just, their mission is to fucking just, you know, help shepherd mankind into, you know, being a successful race, essentially. And in doing this, the Eternals initially, just like the New Gods, they were not part of the Marvel Universe. They were their own thing in a separate universe. So, you know, their names, Icarus, Thena, Gilgamesh, Makari, like all that stuff.
Druig and Sprite and...
Yeah. But they bear resemblance to mythological names, right? Because when they were intervening or whatever, humans saw it, the myths aligned with those gods and whatever came from the Eternals, right?
Right.
So, which is something I guess that's in the movie a little bit.
Yeah, and I thought that was an interesting aspect that they kind of touched on.
In the comics, when they eventually get brought into the Marvel Universe, it becomes a whole thing because those pantheons of gods actually exist in the Marvel Universe, so that kind of is weird.
Yeah.
But anyway, so we get now the movie. Movie opens. Fucking we got our fucking prehistoric man fishing or some shit. And then the big CGI mess of whatever the fuck the deviants are in this movie show up.
Yeah, it was like Mesopotamia or something like that.
Who gives a fuck, Tyler? Who really gives a fuck in this situation? Because it doesn't matter. Nothing in this movie fucking matters.
Continue.
The fucking so this CGI mess beast shows up, and then you know, this dude gets bitched by it, and then, you know, this is my favorite part of the movie too, and it's the first scene.
Mm-hmm.
The ship shows up, they descend from on high like gods, they feel regal, they fucking come in, they take care of business, and then, like, I don't know if this happens after it cuts to the present and then they cut back at some point, but like, to show how they're trying to help usher humanity forward, Cersei bends down and picks up their stone knife and turns it into metal and gives it back to them, kind of showing that symbolically they're helping to usher them into, you know, the next age. That was all well and good, whatever. Like I said, for others, I saw that the deviants were these stupid beast things, but I wasn't sure if that's all of them or if that was just the whatever. And then becomes the big problem. Okay, so my problems with this movie are mainly fucking technical and like formal.
Okay.
Technical, formal, and then some really confusing dumb shit story-wise that also complicates continuity. All right. So, technical. The next scene we have after, we get a time jump forward, right? Using, again, what I thought was kind of cool. They used Time from Pink Floyd, right? That was pretty cool.
I thought that was a really fun choice.
That was a good choice.
Yeah, I enjoyed that.
I was hooked with that because I read into the lyrics and the themes. The themes from the song carry through.
Yep.
They echo through.
It's pretty on the nose, but it's a very good choice because it could have been a lot of different songs about time.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So far, no problem. No real problem. So then when we cut forward is when my fucking problems began. So we have the establishing Cersei's in London. Fucking, she's late for some fucking class she's teaching. Fucking, what's his nuts? Fucking, Kit Harington is covering for her, playing Dane Whitman for all of like 5 minutes in this whole movie.
It's not his movie.
Beginning and at the end.
It ain't his movie.
And he's just there to set up some future shit. So, so they're there. The school, there's an earthquake in England. Doesn't happen. So they're like, oh shit, what the fuck? It's a global earthquake. Okay. So then fucking they go, it's his birthday. So they go out to a fucking club at night. And Sprite's there too. that's the scene, is Sprite's there too. And she's using her illusion to appear older at the time, whatever, because she's continuously stuck in being a little kid. Like, that's what she looks like forever. And then fucking they leave. And then this should have been a sign for things to come, but I was like, okay. Fucking, we have my first thing that always bugs me with movies like this.
Mm-hmm.
A deviant shows up, right?
Yeah.
To fight. And it's fucking nighttime. And what do we know about nighttime fights in big budget movies?
They're cutting costs for the graphics.
Exactly. So I was like, oh, cool, fucking night fight, right?
Yeah.
Here we go.
Big thing with
big CGI.
Wonder
big
Woman.
CGI mess.
The cheetah fight with Wonder Woman.
Literally, DC TV stuff. Like, a lot of fights happen at night because they obviously don't have a big budget. Like, a lot of stuff like this happens in these types of movies.
Game of Thrones, that full-on, like, Dothraki Nightwalker fight.
Yep, all that shit.
White
So
Walker.
I was like, cool, not a good start for me. I don't like this. This is dumb. But I get why they're doing it.
Since we're at the beginning of the movie, I'll just chime in with one thing that was, like, really weird to me and kind of bugged me.
What?
Is when we go to the scene of Kit Harington filling in on the class.
Yes.
Oh.
He's supposed to be reading them poetry, right?
Yeah, he's reading Walt Whitman.
But the poem that he's reading is literally the, like, climax of the movie.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, really?
True.
And it bugged me so much. I was like, wow, I hate it when movies do that.
They
like,
set it all up, with small little stuff at the beginning.
We're going to, like, innocuously tell you what happens at the end of the movie that you should be shocked by.
What poem is
the
it?
poem is just something about, like, and humanity is there and they're doing good, and in the center of the earth is the great seed of all, which will one day blossom and stuff. And it's like, okay.
In the words,
on the nose.
It's called "The Eternal Present" by Walt Whitman.
Wow. Okay. Cool.
Yeah.
Fucking cool. This movie took a story from a poem, but not the fucking comic it's based off of. Fucking cool. All right.
It's a longer poem.
Weird.
It's a very longer poem. He just did like an excerpt from it. So.
Yeah. All right. So.
And then their discussion about
makes me angry too.
Their discussion about what's it called? Prime or Apex Predators.
Yep.
Makes
on the nose.
Nothing else in the movie is about Apex Predators, though. Like
no, just
it seems like that kind of scene that should be setting up. Like, okay, and here's one of the major themes that we'll be exploring in this movie.
Yep.
And it's not.
Nope. The deviants in the books are like big, ugly looking, or just ugly looking alien bipeds. They look like how Skrulls look like in the comic books, kind of like that type of weird, like, alien look that Kirby did. Like, but not all uniform. They all kind of look different. So instead of these big, like, dumb, like, wolf CGI mess things and like
wolf,
whatever the fuck later,
different wolf.
So then they fight this fucking CGI mess in the dark, and then fucking they notice it heals itself. They're like, oh shit, what? It's healing itself. Oh, that can't do that. Fucking Icarus shows up then, right? Conveniently. And so is the party. And then you get your Game of Thrones bros reunion for a second. Just like, oh, hey guys. But this starts a thing with every time they meet the fucking deviants, okay? So let's run through the deviant appearances, right? First deviant appearance is that fight at the beginning. You need to show them to establish what the fuck they are, right? So there you go. The next time we see them is this night fight, buried in darkness. Fucking yeah. Then the next time we see them is I don't think we even see them. It's that fight in like Tenochtitlan or whatever the fuck, and it's after they kill the last one, or assumedly the last one in the past. So you don't. The fight's already done. You don't see him. Next time you see him is the fucking dead one, outside Athena and Gilgamesh's place. Okay, don't have to animate that too much. It's just a dead one. The next time we see them then is in the woods, which was the compounded movie sin bullshit for me. Of it's cloaked in darkness, but that darkness is fucking day for night, which is one of the things that I hate the most. For those of you that don't know what day for night is, it's when you shoot something during the day and then you add a blue filter to make it appear like it's nighttime, right? They do that at one point, and to me, for no other reason but to be able to cloak that fucking fight to make it look real dark and messy, because it's like a mess load of deviants. You got like 4 or 5 there. You got Big Daddy and then the fucking 2 or 3 other ones. That should piss me off, and to the point where like at the end of that fight, there's clearly a shot where they're standing and you see sunlight streaming through the trees, and I was just like, oh my god, like this is terrible. I hated it. That pissed, like, I was like, at that point, like, I was already fucking mad, and then day for night happens, and I'm over the moon pissed.
It is a cheap trick that people utilize, but
yes, and it never looks good. No. And the next time we see them then, the deviants, is that when Icarus is showing Ajax or whatever, right? So they're kind of at a distance, and then, like, when she's down on the ground, then it's fucking, you see him for a minute, and then, like, whatever. That's it. I think she even gets brought into a cave or some shit, which it becomes dark. No, it happens in the daytime. And then the very last time's the final fight, when fucking Boss Man has leveled up into a humanoid form and can talk now.
Yeah.
And he interferes in the final fight. You get all of them fighting him for, like, a minute, like, real quick. And then guess what he does? He fucks off to a cave.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
Fucks off to a cave, and then Athena goes in the cave to fight him, because guess what's in the cave? Fucking darkness. So you can mask that bullshit again. And so everything with the deviants on screen pretty much pissed me off. Back to the story. Okay, we just had the fight with Icarus and all that shit. And we saw it heal and all that stuff, and I was like, "Hey, do you feel that earthquake? Whatever the fuck." What's the impetus after that? Like, right after that, is that when they're like, "Oh shit, maybe we should get the team back together"? Or no, it's because the deviants have shown back up. They thought they killed them off.
Right.
It was like, "Oh shit, we should go tell fucking Ajax." So they go to South Dakota to fucking find Ajax. Played by Salma Hayek. She's fucking dead. Okay, Ajax, their leader, she communicates directly with Arishem, which is a name you're going to hear a bajillion fucking times, and is going to get really annoying.
And he's a celestial, right?
He's a celestial. Again, this is one of the weirdest things in the movie for me, is it's like there's some weird religious zealotry with this, where they're like, Arishem is like their god, which again kind of makes sense. He was their creator, whatever. But like, it's a weird religious thing, and like, Ajax is like the eternal prime, where she is the only one that can talk to him directly. So everything they do is based off of her congresses with this fucking celestial.
A couple of times, Ajax, when she was talking about Arishem or their mission or whatever, reminded me of it. It gave me like
cult vibes. Gave me cult vibes.
Yeah, but also flavors of the what were they called? The Thanos's crew.
Oh yeah, the Black Order.
It reminded me a little bit of the Black Order when like Ebony Maw is like, "You will all be blessed by the presence of Thanos when he kills y'all's asses." And
right,
like,
and we're gonna get to that
like,
purple boy, because that
yeah,
purple boy is inserted into a whole lot of mess because of this movie as well.
Yeah,
That's the biggest what the fuck continuity shit has to do with Purple Boy, and we're gonna get there because that's I don't know how we're gonna explain that, but so then like the rest of the next like third of the movie is getting the band back together, right?
Yeah.
Again, I hate that.
Touching on some aspects of the characters, yeah.
And we go back in time a couple times, so we see things like Fastos, right, played by Brian Tyree Henry, right? That's his name. He is like the
Smith.
Like,
he's the Smith.
Smith, yeah. And so like there's a point in, I think they're in like Babylon or Egypt or something. Babylon probably, because it's whatever. But he's like, check this shit out. And they're like, what is it? He's like, it's a steam engine, whatever. And they're like, I don't know if they're ready for this yet. And he was like, oh shit, fine. And he was like, look at this. This is a plow. This is what it does. Whatever. So they do shit like that, right? And like, and then you get the much heralded first sex scene in a Marvel movie. Like they made that such a big deal, and it's just a random bland PG-13 sex scene that you see in everything.
It's like not even 20 seconds.
Yeah.
Two.
Yep. Of Cersei and Icarus getting it on for like a second, and the only thing that lets you know it's a sex scene is they're naked, and then like a few times you see them go up and down. That's about it.
It's like, honestly, like pretty tasteful, all things considered. Like the sex scene in Terminator is more saucy than this.
Yeah. But they made such a big deal out of it in the press. It's so weird. And then like, and then the other flashback you get is at the Tenochtitlan when they kill what they think is the last deviant, and there's the big conquistadors coming in, fucking up the locals, and Druig is not having it. He doesn't want to do it. So like, no, we can't interfere, and blah 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 blah, and then like, which is like part of the bigger like social message of the movie, which really fell flat too to me.
Okay.
And like, again, not opposed to having that message, just do it good.
What was the message? Like, what was that message?
Well, it's just the overall. You know, mankind is wide and varied, and everybody should be treated with respect thing, right? Which is very true and is good. Well, because that's what that's part of the point of having a such a like diverse cast for the deviant, or for the Eternals, right? In general, is to show that, you know, so people are so widespread and different, and that doesn't make them any less special, and that's, you know, like that's part of the thing, which is all well and good, totally for that message. Just do it well, which I don't think they did.
Okay.
So Druid kind of rebels there, right? And then that's the point where they fucking are like, all right, let's just split up. That's the point where they split up, and then they don't see each other for, I don't know, for hundreds of years, whatever it is. That's the end of the flashback sequence. So it's like sequences. So they're like, so the first person, who's the first person they recruit? So it's Sprite and Cersei and Icarus, and then it's Kingo. Is it Kingo first?
Yeah, it's Kingo.
Kamal Nanjiani.
Yep.
I think he does I'm a half and half on the cast. I think half of them do well. The other half are like, or like not good. Whether it's their fault or the fault of the writing, I don't know. So I'm not going to place the blame on them. But you go to Kumal. Kumal, he does a good job. I enjoy him for the most part. He's got some humorous stuff. He's also got some shit bad humor that they give him as well. Including this first scene where we see him. We see him, he's filming a movie, turns out to be based off of Icarus's life, whatever. He's big star in Bollywood, has been for like a century, but it's explained that he makes it so it's like, this is, you know, a multi-generation dynasty of Bollywood stars, starting with his great grandfather down to him, even though it's been him this whole time. And like, so he's making, so he's making this movie, and they interfere, and they're just like, you gotta come with us. He's like, oh, I got all these people depending on me, like we got all this, and he's like, plus we just spent a bunch of money getting BTS to cameo in this, and I was just like, Jesus fucking Christ, here we go. So it was like, that was a terrible joke.
You got beef with BTS, bro?
No, it's a bad joke that dates the movie, right? It's gonna forever date the movie to fucking.
No, BTS will always be.
BTS was huge.
They are eternal. Okay.
BTS is eternal.
They are eternal.
They're more eternal than this movie is. So pick up King O. Cool. They get on a plane. One of the worst fucking CG shots of the movie is the shot of the plane that they're on. That looks awful. That looks straight terrible. I was like, wow. So okay, so we get King O. Next stop is is it
Australia, I think.
Yeah, to go get Gilgamesh and Thena. Mm-hmm. Two other performances I enjoyed. I enjoyed fucking what's his nuts from Train to Busan as Gilgamesh. Mm-hmm. I liked that guy. I liked him. Yeah, I liked his character. I liked that he gave him good personality. He gave him a good like mission of protecting Thena. And fucking Angelina Jolie as Thena, who's someone I thought I would not enjoy, but I actually ended up enjoying her performance as well. She gave that like regality and like godly kind of otherness to the characters that none of the rest really did. Mm-hmm. Her story of this too, then is an interesting one that ties into the main thing, where during the flashbacks you see she has these mental breaks where she attacks them and almost kills them and stuff, and they call it the Mad Worry, which is a fucking weird name.
Mad Weary.
It's basically
weird.
Yeah, I thought it was Mad Weary.
There it is. Yeah, the Mad Weary. Yeah.
Yeah, that was like strange.
Yeah, and the idea being that their mind essentially collapses on itself from being alive for so long and experiencing everything they've experienced, which kind of makes sense. But she starts saying shit like, you killed this city, or you did this, or whatever. And they're like, what are you talking about? This is insane. So when we meet her and she's, kind of out of it and whatever, that's cool. Then this is where the big twist happens, because fucking Cersei, posthumously, Ajak has selected Cersei as the Eternal Prime. And Cersei then gets that weird gold ball thing that is in Ajak that allows her to communicate with Arishem, right? So the ball goes into her, right?
The ball going to her now.
Ball go into her.
I get
then
ball.
Something happened around this time. Then she has her first commune with Arishem, right? And then this is where it throws everything off the fucking rails, and made me like confused as shit. And I think it's really stupid.
When she's talking to Arishem for the first time,
when he reveals everything to her, right?
Okay. Let's dive into
that. All right. So Arishem talking to her. All right. So this is what's really going on. You were not created to fucking help humans become whatever from the deviants. Like, that's not your mission. What actually happened is, what we do is we fucking create seeds, right? Life seeds and plant them in planets to then grow a deviant a celestial inside. Mm-hmm. And then when that celestial is old enough, then it bursts out of the planet like a fucking egg, right? Destroying that planet.
Right, but
originally
there's more to
it. I'm getting there. Originally we fucking created the deviants to do this, but the problem is they evolved. They're living creatures. They evolved and they rebelled. So what we decided to do then is fucking build and program advanced robots. And that's what you are. The Eternals, where they thought they were just aliens, from a place called Olympia, which is the name of the city they lived in on Earth in the comic books. Olympia doesn't exist. It's this place called the World Forge. And you guys are actually hyper intelligent, sophisticated robots. And to drive home that thing is like, and not just you, and then he like shows and basically replicates, showing that we've got all these essentially replicated versions of you, right? And you guys have been doing that. What you actually do is you're there to make sure humanity's numbers, the prime race on the planet, that their population grows and grows to then feeds the celestial baby, and until it's able to be born. And the whole point of you not interfering is because, you know, wars and shit happen. What does that do? That then creates like medical advancements and all this stuff, thus elongating life and helping more and more people to get born. Therefore, that is your mission. And you guys have been doing this constantly. Like, you think that this was your first mission. You went from Olympia to Earth. That was no, you've been doing this forever. This is like another planet you've done this for. We've had you on other shits. You've died sometimes, whatever. We've just wiped your memories. We keep it in this weird, stupid, green honeycomb looking thing for reasons. And boom, there it is. That's what it is. Now, this is the moment that sticks with me the most, because we've got this big ass purple dude that we've just finished dealing with, right? Man named Thanos, right?
Yeah.
The reason they didn't interfere with Thanos, like anything, like I said, it's not deviant related, so they did not interfere in it. All well and good, except for a key factor about Thanos. And so we're gonna jump for a minute. The end of the movie, and then one of the credit scenes, right? We're introduced to a character named Star Fox.
Eros.
Right? His name's Eros. Eros, Star Fox, proper name, or his like hero name, whatever the fuck. The intro given by my boy Pip the Troll. I was happy to see Pip the Troll. I love Pip the Troll. But Pip the Troll is introducing him, and introduces him as the Eternal. He's an Eternal, and he's a Prince of Titan, which we know from the other movies, and the brother of Thanos. Right. Okay? So we have the confirmation, just as he is in the comics, that Thanos is an Eternal. Okay? So, given that information, and what we just learned, is Thanos a fucking robot?
No.
Yes. No, he is.
I don't.
100%.
I genuinely don't know how to answer that.
I think. Well, maybe it's not overtly said, but yeah.
But it has to, based off of what we're given of the origin of the Eternals,
right?
From Ereshkigal, is that the Eternals are a race of programmed, engineered, advanced robots. Right. That's why they don't age. That's why they can't die in most circumstances. They are robots. And the confirmation of Thanos as an Eternal, tied in with the explanation of what the Eternals are, therefore makes Thanos a robot. Also... But
doesn't he have, in the comics, isn't he like, he looks different than his brothers or his siblings?
For a reason, and this is the other piece of continuity that is, I mean, that can be talked around, but in this situation, it's going to be more confusing. Thanos, in the comic books, born to a family of Eternals, but he contains the deviant gene, right?
Yeah, there it is.
That is why he looks the way he does. That's why he's purple and big and has the dumb nutsack chin. That is why. It's because he has the deviant gene. Therefore, if that's still part of the continuity then the Eternals should have interfered with Thanos because that is deviant related. But that can't possibly be deviant related because the deviants, as we've seen them, are just four-legged beastie fucks that have nothing to do with it. So if Thanos is an Eternal, why does he look like that? And also that means he's a robot. So why was he allowed to be the way he was and rebelled? Did his programming fuck up? What happened? Why did you make him look like that? How does he have a brother? Because they are not organic beings that fucking have children. They are created. Each one is individually made. So
are they made as robots, or are they made as organic beings?
Nope. The way Arishem explains it is they are programmed, manufactured, super advanced robots.
He says
that
robots?
They have, yes, that they have copies of. The visual aid that he gives them shows a few of them and then replicated and then explained that you basically just get uploaded into another fucking body if you die or whatever. So they're all fucking robots. So how are you going to explain that shit with Thanos without, like, are you going to explain it, or are you going to do what I think they're going to do and just just ignore it?
It's an awesome thing to kind of make a hypothetical or just elaborate a little bit more on the idea of that. I think. Yeah. I mean, yeah, if you can expound upon the idea of Thanos being an Eternal with the deviant gene and contextualize it in a way that makes sense to like people that watched his downfall and things like that, and not be like, oh, they just killed a robot, like they just killed Ultron again. Like, is this all the bad guys are going to be? Are just going to be robots? There's
too much to explain there. I mean, they don't have to explain the deviant thing because that hasn't been confirmed in the movies, right? That's just something from the comics, right? They can ignore that, whatever. But they do kind of have to acknowledge the fact that they just revealed that A, Thanos is an Eternal, and B, that the Eternals, as confirmed by Arishem, are a race of hyper-advanced robots.
Do you remember what the line was about Thanos being an Eternal? Like, what was... It was Arishem talking to Cersei about it?
No, the Thanos being revealed as an Eternal happens in the post-credit scene, where Star Fox shows up. When Pip the Troll introduces Star Fox, he introduces him as an Eternal. He introduces him as Prince of Titan and Thanos' brother.
Okay, so that doesn't say that Thanos was a Titan or an Eternal. Then that just says this guy is an Eternal.
Here's something that I think.
But that's how they can wiggle. That's how they can wiggle it out. That's how they can wiggle it out.
But they basically said, we know the people of Titan now. That is our Eternals, the Eternals of Titan. Fucking Thanos is from Titan, and he is this guy's quote-unquote brother.
Mm-hmm.
They're basically, because there's no other point to me. Again, you're right. They can explain it that way.
They
100%
can.
Right.
They can do it how they say Gamora is his daughter. They can just say like, oh, he's just a black sheep of the family.
He was a native of this planet when the Eternals showed up, and the royal family adopted him into the family.
Exactly.
They can do that. But for people, for the nerds that know that Star Fox and Thanos are brothers and they're Eternals, that's part of their story, right? So we know that. So, like, unless they do that, which they very well could, again, only people like me who know that history.
Yep.
Well, no, because once it's said that, they're basically saying, like you said, there's an out there. It's not super specific, but basically alluding to the fact that Thanos is an Eternal.
Mm-hmm.
That ties him to the explanation that we were given in the middle of the movie there. So it's still showing you that does not take a leap of logic to be like, oh, Thanos is a fucking robot now, right? How are you going to explain that? Yes.
I've got 2 points I'd like to raise here.
Mm-hmm.
One, my interpretation was that when he said super advanced robots, it was that they are created out of some sort of organic matter. They're not mechanical. But they are, like you said, like just kind of like drones.
But at the same time, when he showed the visual representation of what they are, that showed, be it nonsense spacey looking, kind of technological looking components of them.
And maybe like their bones or something, like they have a frame. I don't know, but
it could be like a Terminator situation, right?
Well, yeah. And I only say that because like a couple of times we see like in the very first scene when they get revealed, Ajax heals Icarus's shoulder, and you can see like a flesh wound. But
they have flesh and blood. We see that.
Yeah,
but because then after that happens, when Cersei tells everybody when they're at that dinner table, right, at Gilgamesh and Thena's place, when she tells them that, then fucking I think it's Kingo goes like, so we're robots? And then they're like, oh, well, that explains why we never age and can't really die. It's not because they're super beings, it's because they're robots. Like they double down on it right after that.
Yeah, no, I understand. I just took their use of the word robot as less literal and more like figurative, I guess.
Yeah, it's in this universe, it could be like
it is
a cosmic robot. A cosmic robot. It's not like a Danger Will Robinson robot.
The actual double down, I guess, is the visual aid I talked about, where they show the ones that look a certain way, and then he's like, oh, it's not as simple as that, and then he does like some handy thing, and then like a bunch of copies of those same ones appear, showing that they have
of Cersei
other bodies of each of these. Well, they're not like, they don't have specific like features. They're just kind of weird, kind of spacey looking technology, kind of like outlines. And then like they replicate them. So it's like, we have multiples of you, so we can just upload your shit to the next one, essentially. So it's like, they're not special individual ones either. There's copies that their memories or their whatever are uploaded to or downloaded from, because then they download their memories into that stupid honeycomb thingy.
Mm-hmm. They have some on standby, like a backup ready to be uploaded to.
A bajillion Icaruses, a bajillion Thenas, a bajillion,
but not
exactly.
I didn't take it as they're all active. I took it as like they're ready to be backed up to. Like if you die, we have one ready.
If you die, there's another one ready.
If you die, or once the mission's over,
the same robot.
These copies are going to get destroyed, and then this next model, like the next number of you, is going to go on.
Mm-hmm.
Exactly.
But here's a way that they could explain how Thanos isn't a robot, okay? It's pretty cut and dry. And I think it's a way that they could, maybe not this exactly, but like something like this, since they're introducing an Eternal that's outside of this group that has the movie Eternals about them, you know?
Yeah.
Maybe Arishem is like the Celestial that's like, you know what? I'm going to make fucking robots. And maybe the other Celestials created organic life instead of robots. And those are their Eternals. So maybe like, I don't know, Star Fox and Thanos and the people on Titan and this whole other sect that basically aren't underneath Arishem, but maybe a different Celestial or one that created this life and then fucked off, or maybe it's dead or something. I don't know. Created organic life. And then there's like the ability for them to like, maybe there's something like Thanos just still had the deviant gene. The deviants were still around. It was just a different situation. It wasn't like, I'm going to create robots to hunt them. I'm just going to create two different races, and here they go. They're living together.
So
I don't know.
Possible.
It's a way
also
for Star
possible
Fox to be like, because Star Fox is being introduced, it's a way for him to be like, oh, you guys are robots? That's weird. I'm a normal person because I was made by this Celestial.
Based off of the description we're given in the movie, Arishem himself is the one that created the Eternals, period. It's like not the other Celestials, just him. Like that's with the information we're provided in this movie.
I thought the way that he talked about it a few times.
And he's got sects of Eternals across the galaxy. They're not the only ones. So
I thought the way that he talked about it a few times is he was more saying like, we, the collective group of Celestials, have Eternals throughout the galaxy. And a couple times he did say something about like, I have deployed you many times, or like, I have many more copies of you. But I thought a few times he was saying like, we, the Celestials, created you Eternals to be our servants throughout the universe or whatever.
Could be. From what I remember, it was just it was them. He was the one. Like the way it was described that I remember was that he was the one that created the Eternals for that mission in general.
Well, they could also very easily write that off and just say like,
exactly.
This could be like, oh, Arishem, that dude took credit for everything. No, there's plenty of other Eternals that were created by other Celestials. Like he was just a zealot or something. I don't know.
That's the glory and the terribleness of stuff like this, where you create a problem as big as this potentially is, and then you can just explain it away with some nonsense. If you the thing that amazes me is that whoever is responsible for keeping this movie in line with Marvel continuity didn't realize that, what the insinuation was.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
I feel like there will be more opportunity for clarification in the
There
future,
is.
which will
And like
help.
I said, I could totally see it at this point with the information we're given. The easy, like without thinking about it super hard, is Eternals are robots.
Those Eternals made by Arishem are robots. The other Eternals that are made by all Eternals are robots now. Okay.
All Eternals are robots. All Eternals. That's what he says. The Eternals, he's not talking about them specifically. He's saying the Eternals. That means all of the Eternals are robots. The Eternals are a response to the Deviants. The Deviants are throughout the galaxy. So each groups of Eternals are sent out to quash the fucking Deviants on all these different planets. So, the Eternals in general, he says, it's the Eternals, are programmed, hyper-advanced robots. Eros / Star Fox is an Eternal, said to be brother of Thanos, making Thanos an Eternal. Thus, just using the basic, not thinking too hard logic, then, that Thanos then is a fucking robot. Like, that's...
Is that basic. So bad of a revelation, though?
Yes.
Do you hate that idea?
It is dumb. The fact that the Eternals are robots at all is stupid to me.
Okay.
That is incredible. Especially since...
So, are people going to take that, though? Like, that haven't read the books?
People aren't.
They're not going to think too hard about that and be like, okay.
Well, again, the books, even at first when we were talking about it, I was like, I know this from the books, but this is even just taking information we're given in the movie. This, like, you don't have to know outside of the movie. What they tell you in the movie can lead you to this assumption.
But, okay, what do you think that scene with Arishem was supposed to be when he was talking to Cersei about...
It's the same lowdown that he gave Ajak when
what do you think
got into it.
I'm just going to go into what do you think that interaction between those two people was supposed to accomplish? Just like
It was just
think
Arishem
think about
filling her in on what the actual mission is.
But here's an idea. What if Arishem was just supposed to be like terrorizing her, thinking her to think these things, making her fearful of him and his plight, to make her obedient to his
care, though.
He wants her to be obedient to his situation. He wants this to be fulfilled.
Based off of the bajillion times they've done this in the past, and his bajillion times dealing with not only Ajax but other Eternal Primes, they've all fallen in line and they've all done everything. Like, he hasn't, like, there's no precedent to, like, and they're programmed to do what they're told, so there's no precedent for him to have to manipulate.
I think that gets into the root.
There's literally, especially Celestials, who could give a shit. They just want their stuff done. So why would he like have some weird mental manipulation thing? That doesn't make sense.
No, I think that's what the movie's getting into. It's getting into the free will aspect of everything. It's like, do these Eternals have free will? No, they don't.
Yes.
They can't choose. But Cersei chose at the end to deviate from the plan. She totally made the choice. I'm not going to sacrifice this world that I've learned to love.
And so did Ajax, right? And so did Ajax, which we haven't even got to that part of the story yet, because this that reveal hasn't happened yet. But because this derails the whole thing for me. But like, so he's not. I'm not going to say he's not, because they can totally change it to be he is. But like, to me, what it seems like, it's a Celestial. He does not care for, like, or even recognize the fact that these beings have thoughts, feelings, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
He understands them as they are, as programmed robots that are programmed to do what they're ordered to do.
But that's just what he was telling Cersei. You got to remember that.
But that's what he told Ajax too.
Just to keep her in line. Just to keep her in line. I think it's just a thing he spews to people to keep them in line, to follow his deeds.
But that would be, like I said, that would be some weird
master manipulator. That's what he's doing. He wants these new Celestials to be born. He wants Tiamat. He wants Tiamat to be born. That's his goal. That's his end goal.
But he has no, like, that's assuming this is like, if the focus is on this one specific experience with the Eternals, then maybe. But like I said, these Eternals have been doing this for thousands, like millennia. Yeah. These same Eternals have been doing this. Ajax has known this thing this whole time. She was told, probably from her creation, since she was chosen as Eternal Prime, that this is the situation. Why would he change the story now to Cersei? That doesn't make sense. He is operating under the assumption that, because he has no other reason to think otherwise.
Well, Cersei was the one that fell in love with the humans. Like, she's in love with Kit Harington. Like, she has a reason now to deviate. I don't think Ajax maybe had a good enough reason to deviate.
She did too. She didn't want the Earth to die either. That's why she ended up dying, was because she wanted to go against Arishem. And so it's like, there's, to me, when you think, there's no reason why Arishem would even have to worry about being, the truth of the matter is enough for them to just fucking do what they're told. Like, there's no reason for him to embellish and manipulate. Laying it out like, hey, you are a programmed robot to do this. This is what you do. We have a bajillion copies of you. Doesn't fucking matter. You don't do it, we'll replace you. Who cares? Fucking, this is what you're supposed to do. Do it. And like, that's all that it should. That's all, in theory, it should take. He hasn't had to do it before, that we know of, I guess. Hasn't had to replace an Eternal Prime like this before, and have to come up with some new story to make them give a shit. Like, it's this is one instance of across millennia and galaxies, right?
But even after he spews that dialogue to Cersei, do you think she's fazed by the situation she's put in? Like, here, let me give you the lowdown. She's still like, okay, this is bad. I'm not going to abide.
She's conflicted after she hears it.
I'd say even more. I'd say way more. She still was conflicted, probably.
Well, because she didn't know that was the mission.
Well, yeah.
She didn't know that was the mission because their minds were wiped every single time,
But
except for Ajax, who was the one who knew the entire time, for since they've been doing this, that this is the mission. She's always known, right?
Mm-hmm.
This is the only time she's had an issue with it because she grew to like the people, and then because then we get the other dumb as fuck thing in this movie, which is the complete character assassination of Icarus, who is the Eternal, the only one that people really know, like in comic bookdom, like, is fucking Icarus. He's the one that shows up in like Avengers books and like all this shit. He is their, Prime. While he's not Eternal Prime, he is usually like the field leader, right? He's like Cyclops, right? He's like the field leader. He's the guy who he's the embodiment of the eternal spirit, essentially.
Okay.
And so this revelation happens at the fucking dinner, right? We'll move on from this now since we've gone hard on it. So we get that revelation, right? So then the next step is to get, is it Phastos next? I think it's Phastos next.
Pretty sure. Or no,
yeah.
Maybe it's...
No,
it's...
they go to get Druig.
Druig, yeah, it's Druig.
first.
Pretty sure it's
Druig is
Druig.
the reason why they need to go to Phastos next.
Yeah. Okay, yeah. So they go to Druig, who Druig then is at when they split up, he stayed in that forest where he had the fucking rebellion and everything. He stayed there. He's got his own little village of people that he...
The Incas or the Aztecs or something like that?
So it was in Tenochtitlan, which is, I think, Aztecs. I think. I could be wrong. But he stays in that forest. He's got a village of people that I guess he has no problem mind controlling if he wants to. They go there. They talk to him about everything. And then, he's like, well, kind of I could give a fuck, whatever, but whatever. They all kind of agree that when this is revealed, the people kind of agree that they kind of don't want Earth to get fucked up. So get Druig. Druig's bad boy. He's the bad boy. And so they get that motherfucker.
But he's not even, though. He's one of the most sympathetic characters in the entire movie.
I know. And then he joins them kind of reluctantly. That's where the fucking stupid day for night fight happens. The prime deviant, the one that doesn't look like a wolf, is there with his big stupid tendrils. Theta ends up having kind of a thing, and Gilgamesh is trying to help her / save her, and then that leads him to get fucking tendrilled and fucking gets the big suck from him, and he dies, and then fucking, much to my chagrin because I actually liked him, and then our deviant boy evolves again, and then he's got like a bipedal form now and can talk. I guess.
I think he has a name, right?
Yeah, it's the name of the leader of the deviants in the comics. I forget what the name is.
Was it Crow? I heard that
Crow,
name.
yeah,
I think
Crow.
that name was passed around.
Yep, it's Crow. They get the fuck out of there, whatever. Then they go to get Phastos, who's living. He's got a family. He's got a husband and a son. They're living in domestic bliss. They go there to recruit him.
In their super fortified house.
Super fortified house, except for the IKEA table.
Right.
Another bad
the
joke.
spring collection or whatever they called it.
And this made me realize something. So this whole thing is supposed to be like, this is a family, right? These 10 motherfuckers that we barely get to know are a family, And they don't really earn it in the movie. All we get is a bunch of platitudes about family and a couple of remember when stories, right? combined with like the few flashbacks, and we're supposed to be like, oh, this is a family. Never feels like that in the movie ever. But when we get to Phastos and his family, that actually feels like a family, and like you feel for that family, you feel for Phastos and his family. Like Brian Tyree Henry did a really good job in this, actually, like letting you know that he fucking cares, and he's only doing this for his family, and that like this is what means the most to him. That's the only moment where I felt family was actually a part of this movie, was with him and his family.
I guess
and then,
I missed that from the marketing. I didn't know that was a big thing.
That was like the point of the whole fucking movie, dude. Well, not the point of the whole fucking movie, but they build up so much of just like, this is family. We're family. We gotta stand up for each other because we're family. Remember when we did this? Yeah, that was a great time.
I think you're confusing this with Fast and the Furious.
That's what I'm saying. That's what I thought when I was watching the movie. I was like, this has more platitudes and bullshit about family than like a Fast and the Furious movie. Like, it was stupid, but sadly Fast and the Furious has done enough to actually earn that. This has not done anything to earn that family feel. They were trying to make you believe that these 10 disparate motherfuckers that you hardly get to know are a family, so you care about them, right? And like what ends up happening is you really don't care about most of them, and when they die, it doesn't really affect you at all. Like, I didn't give a shit that Ajax died. That happened right away. Barely knew her, but they spent a lot of time being like, oh, but she was our leader. Whatever. Didn't give a shit. Gilgamesh, dude, I fucking liked. He died. Did not care either, because he barely fucking did anything. Like, we had so little time with most of these characters that it didn't matter, and that you didn't feel anything when something happened to them. Like, if someone was in threat of being killed, it was just like, oh, well, they're probably dead. Oh, they're not? Okay. Like, ugh. And then, so we get Phastos. He agrees. They come along. The last one we have to get is Makari, right? Who in fucking Neanderthal days is speaking with ASL for some reason. Did you catch that?
Yeah. Maybe teaching them
in prehistoric man. She gets there. That's, again, you could just explain it away. It's like, oh yeah, she was the one who invented. But the way she spent her time though, after they split up, she just went and fucking lived in the ship. She'd pop out and grab shit and then go back to the ship.
Right.
Like,
or throughout the ages, they would just dump some relics in there.
Of it, though, because that's not even the extent of it with the ASL, because that's not her. That's Arishem. He programmed her with ASL.
Yes, programmed her to not be able to hear and have to do ASL. Like,
and uploaded that into her brain. He programmed
all of them to have regional Earth accents, and
yeah, like, I thought that too. Like, it must have been strange for Icarus when he visited like Scotland,
and they spoke like him.
Yeah, because everybody just sounded like him.
Yeah, because like these are dialects. Like, oh, he was the one that was the first one to do it. But no, because we know that accents take take years and years and years to develop to become what. Yeah, so whatever. Fucking Kingo just happens to go to a place where everyone looks like him and sounds like him. You know what I mean? Like, it's very confusing. If you try to do suspension of disbelief, which you should do with superhero movies, sometimes it gets to be a little much, and in Eternals, it definitely is like that, where you're just like, okay, they all speak English, and everyone speaks English, cool. Like, except, and Makari speaks American Sign Language, not other types of sign language for different regions, specifically American Sign Language. And like, I assume, I guess. I don't know, because I'm not a ASL speaker or whatever. So I don't know that that's what it is, but that's what it looks like, right? I doubt they took someone and had her develop a completely original sign language for this movie. But so they go find her. She's locked up in the ship. This is when the other most detestable fucking joke of this movie happens, where she's sitting there and Kingo goes and sees her. He's like, oh hey, blah blah blah. He's like, have you seen any of my movies? And then she's like, oh no, I don't have a DVD player. And then it shifts focus to like other characters, but in the background you hear him go, oh no, DVDs aren't it anymore. You got to get on streaming, and like that's where it's at. And like it's like, dude, I gotta get you a Kindle. I was like, oh,
Yeah.
what's a Kindle? It's like, I've never realized how hard it is to explain a Kindle to someone without them knowing what an iPad is.
Right.
And I was just like, holy fuck.
Well, we kind of glossed over the other, DC comments too. The jokes that were like, "Oh, you're like Batman," or "You're like Superman."
You're like Batman. You're like Superman. Yeah, that was trash. I don't care. Doesn't deserve to be acknowledged. Fucking.
It's just a thing they do. They both.
It's a thing they did. Yeah. So they fucking, and then in this too.
They did that in the Sam Raimi Spider-Man too.
Yeah.
Yep.
So in this too, then
bad,
we get something that is potentially a hint towards future things, or at the very least an Easter egg. You have Thena in another room fucking around with a sword, right? Sprite comes in. She's like, "Oh, is that the ebony blade?" And then Thena goes, "No, it's Excalibur," right?
Yeah.
So like, to those not in the know, that doesn't mean anything. But the ebony blade is the weapon of the Black Knight, aka Dane Whitman, aka Kit Harington, right? And then it's a cursed blade that his family is passed with, whatever. And then Excalibur obviously is Excalibur, but that is a sword in the comics also that is held by Captain Britain, right? And so that's a potential Easter egg thing, whatever. And then we get the reveal. Fucking Cersei is talking with Icarus. Icarus is getting all fucking like suited up and shit. And she's like, "Oh, we're so lucky to have you with us, whatever." And then he does the like, "Oh, I'm not who you think I am" situation. And then it's revealed, we get a flashback, and you find out that he knew that 5,000 years ago, Ajax clued him in on what the real goal of everything is. The whole seed, birth eternal, or birth celestial thing, right? That'll destroy the planet. So he knew. And then when it became close to when the celestial was due to hatch or whatever, probably after that first big global earthquake or whatever, he goes to South Dakota to talk to Ajax about it. And then that's when Ajax reveals that maybe we stop Tiamat from being born, because like, I like this planet, I like these people, I don't want to see it destroyed.
Mm-hmm.
And then
Thanos was trying to do.
Yeah. And then you see fucking Richard Madden, whatever the fuck his name is. You see a real serious look on his face. He's like, "Oh, I've got to show you something." And then they fucking, you see him walking through woods. They get to a cliff and they look down, and there's deviants down there. And they're like, "Oh, I thought they were all dead." And he's just like, "It seems like from the ice melting, because global warming, whatever. There's some that were frozen that are now back out and about." And then somehow she gets a whiff, I don't know if it's from silence or what, that something's amiss. And she's like, "Oh, so you fucking gonna, like, you're gonna do something? You're not gonna kill me yourself, whatever?" And he's like, "Well, no, this is our mission. Arasham told us we have to do this, blah, 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 and you're disobeying him, blah." So he pushes her off the cliff. She falls down onto the ice. The deviants are like, "Oh, what the shit?" And they start fighting her, and then the big tendril doofus crow deviant comes out, hits her with his tendrils, gives her the big suck, and fucking kills her. And that's how, so then that's how he gets the healing powers, whatever. So then Icarus then takes her body and brings it back to South Dakota and fucking leaves it there. And for some reason, I don't know why he just didn't leave it there, but he had to take it to South Dakota and leave it there to start this whole nonsense.
Need to hide my tracks.
Yeah, so you find out then that Icarus is loyal to Arishem and that he is going to stand against them. And he is going to be the bad guy. Because throughout the movie, by the way, there's no real bad guy, like bad guy with machinations to do anything other than these deviants that are just coming around trying to kill the Eternals. You know what I mean? Like by the time Crow becomes sentient, it's like almost the end of the movie, and so he has no big supervillain motives that get unleashed and for why things are happening. All that villain shit doesn't happen until the very end of the movie. So you don't really feel like you have a real central bad guy throughout most of this movie.
Were you okay with that? Or were you...
No.
You
No,
wanted
I was waiting.
a bad guy? You wanted a bad guy to show up?
Well, because part of what makes a superhero movie work and what Marvel has always had a tough time doing is having a villain that has concrete motives that actually is that you can understand and you can do whatever, have a villain actually be a character other than just some dude that's like, wah, and then you fucking kill him.
Sure.
Which a lot of Marvel movies have had.
Yeah.
This didn't even have that. You just had these beastie guys that are trying to kill you the whole time. There's nothing else.
But you I guess you could consider the Celestials being the evil.
Which again, you don't find out till over halfway through the movie. So you have two-thirds of a movie without a bad guy.
Well, it's pretty much right when she gets the news. When Cersei gets the news from
Which is
Arishem.
over halfway through the movie.
I think that's right at the half mark, maybe. Because they're still getting the team together,
The team together, yeah. Okay, so we'll say halfway through. That's still... Usually you have a pretty good idea of who your bad guy is by that point in the movie. You know what I mean?
Maybe with the preface of Celestials at the title crawl was be here, get to know these Celestials. We're going to be talking about them more and more.
That's the bait and switch, though. You think they're benevolent beings, and then you find out that, they don't really have a positive or negative motivation. They're just creating more Celestials, so then they can create more planets to create more life, to create more Celestials.
It's just
blah, 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 blah,
reciprocal thing.
Yeah, so they're not good or bad. It's just how you interpret them, right? So it's
But to the to the Eternals, it is framed as the greater
As bad.
good. To
yeah.
what Arishem is telling them is no, what you're doing is good.
Yeah, exactly.
To the Eternals, yeah. It's I thought we were the good guys. We're the baddies now?
Right. And that's what Icarus believes. And then, you got... Once this is revealed, and then Icarus is, kind of fucking off after he reveals everything that he did. Then you have Sprite fucks off with him because, 2 seconds before that, Kingo makes the, observation that Sprite is in love with Icarus, and that... but she can't do anything about it because she's stuck as a kid forever.
Well, he does the analogy hey, you're like Tinkerbell, and
yes,
Cersei's like Wendy, and Icarus is like Peter Pan. It's okay, I get it.
And it serves just so that Icarus isn't the only one to fuck off, essentially.
Mm-hmm.
It's a weird thing to insert randomly there, and then. So Sprite takes off with Icarus.
Because now her allegiance always is going to lie with Icarus's.
With Icarus, yeah. Because guess what? She loves him, I guess. And then so then everyone's like, okay, what the fuck do we do? We gotta whatever. Then Phastos comes up with this idea. How are we gonna stop?
The
steam engine.
Yeah. How are we gonna stop Tiamat?
We'll introduce him to modern technology.
Got it.
To stop him from doing this. It's Druig, you can put people to sleep. Why don't you put the Celestial to sleep? And he's just well, that's kind of a tall order. I need a lot of power. And then he comes up with the Unimind, which is a thing from the comics.
I need a lot of VRAM.
All of them. Yeah. So it's okay, we'll do that. And it gets developed really quick and really stupidly. And then then we get to basically
Really quick.
Yeah.
How did you feel in the Unimind, like when in the scene where he like comes up with that?
Yeah.
How did you feel about that whole shtick of like, and I'll call it the Unimind, and everybody's like lukewarm reaction or like that's terrible. How did you feel about that joke?
How did I feel about that joke? I felt that's par for the course for a Marvel movie. Like that's a Marvel joke. How are we gonna make people accept a goofy sounding name from the comic books? Well, let's just acknowledge it and make a joke out of it.
Did you like the brainstorm part?
No,
because that was the extra joke layered on top of that. Why not brainstorm?
Yes. This is stupid. Tyler, I hated all of this movie.
I can't really tell. I mean, you seem pretty lukewarm on it so far.
And then fucking... Okay, so the Unimind shit. All right, it goes really fast, the development of that. Let's fucking do it. That terrible joke that we were just talking about. Well, where's he gonna... How do we know where to go? And then it's like, oh, there's a big-ass volcano erupting like a motherfucker. Guess that's where that's gonna happen at.
Sounds like the culprit right there.
So they go there. Fucking Icarus and Sprite are there already, I guess. So then they start setting up the whole Unimind shit. Icarus sees what's happening. Icarus fucking flies up and just fucking doom lasers fucking Druig. So you think he dies. At that point, I'm like, okay, who cares? Again, I don't feel anything for this character. Fucking... Then the fight's about to, gonna start happening, and then fucking this is when Crow pimps back in, right? Leader of Deviants, Crow comes back. As this fight is starting between them and Icarus, and then that's when Crow then like they have a little bit of a dust up. Crow fucks off to the. Sorry, I just saw the Mr. Fantastic punching people. So that's when Crow fucks off to the cave, and then Athena goes there to have their "we must have it" cloaked in darkness because bad CGI fight. And then he's like about to kill Athena. He's got his little sucks in her and shit, and then she's like, nope, and she does the slices and kills him. Cool, whatever. It was very unceremonious. There we go. It's supposed to mean something because he killed Gilgamesh and he was kind of taunting her with the Gilgamesh stuff. But it didn't matter because you don't feel anything for any of these motherfuckers. And then then it's the fight with Icarus. And they're, as assumed, they're getting their asses handed to them. This is another moment of absolutely horrible CGI.
Okay.
Makari runs really fast and grabs him, and then you see them running, or you see her running with him like across like the water or some shit. I don't remember, but that looked absolutely horrible.
I think it was through rocks.
Yeah, that looked like on par with or worse than like CW Flash like special effects. Like that was bad. I was just like amazed at how terrible that looked. And then like we get back, or then like what else fucking happened? Fucking Sprite does some shit. Like everybody's basically taken out. Did they successfully form this? This is where shit gets a little blurry because at this point I just couldn't give a shit anymore.
Yeah.
So how does Cersei get like the Unimind powers at that point? Was it just because of that initial setup of the Unimind that gets fucked up?
No, she was it again, and it included
okay.
everybody.
It included everybody,
after,
and Tiamat joined in.
It was after. Yeah.
Okay, so her and Sprite are fighting, and Sprite actually like fucking shanks her in the back. Cersei gives her the good stab, and then fucking.
The old in out.
And then, yeah, she says she's talking some shit, and then Druig comes up and just bashes her in the back of the head with a rock. And I was like, all right, whatever. He's still alive. Cool. We didn't see the body. That means he's not dead. And then fucking... So all the while, then you start seeing like fucking Tiamat's like hand coming up and shit, and like
Yeah.
I guess you start seeing his head a little bit.
Part of his
stuff
face,
like that.
yeah. Which was awesome.
Then,
that visual was kind of cool.
Yeah. Don't get me wrong. Some of this, like the ideas of a lot of this, are pretty fucking metal and pretty fucking cool. Like the idea of using the Earth as a fucking egg for a celestial to be born and burst out of.
That's Lovecraft,
like,
dude. That is like That's straight up Lovecraft.
Dude, the cosmic horror element of that, I love that. Like that's cool. The idea is cool. The execution's awful, but the idea is cool. And then like, so then Cersei and Icarus are fighting, right? This is the point where the fight was going on for a while. They were talking back and forth. I was out of it at this point, so I stood up and went and took a piss.
Uh-oh.
Like I was like, I gotta pee. I'm just gonna go do that now. Normally I'd try and hang on and wait, but like I really gotta pee. I don't care. So I come back, and when I come back, Icarus is like on his knees crying, and like saying some I'm sorry bullshit. And I think Cersei is uniminded up at this point. I think. That's when she fucking like turns Tiamat into whatever the fuck she turns him into.
Marble,
yeah. That's when she does that. And then the biggest eye roll of this whole fucking thing was Icarus fucking off. Like he fucks off into space, and I was like, oh, okay, he's gonna fuck off into space. We'll see him later. He's gonna go contemplate shit. No, he fucking anheroes himself into the sun.
He fulfills
like,
his destiny.
Is Icarus destiny too close? Okay, this is. I'm laughing at this right now. The Human Torch getting fucking lasered. That's great. But like
into the sun.
But yeah, going into the sun. No, again, knowing movie tropes, you don't see the body, you don't see him die. He'll come back. He's gonna come back. But like that thing, just him flying off and going and just crying and flying into the sun, and I was just like, it wasn't a metaphorical eye roll. I literally eye rolled when that happened. It was just the icing on the top of the shit cake, and like, yeah, and I was like, oh, thus concludes the utter and complete assassination of Icarus as a character. Cool, awesome. Trash. Threw him in the dumpster. Awesome. And then everything's getting resolved now, right? Fucking Cersei approaches Sprite with like, forgiveness and all this stuff, and it's just like, hey, I've still got this Unimind power for a little bit. I know, you've been saying throughout the movie and shit that like you're bummed out because you're always stuck as a kid, and you can never grow up, and you can never experience the things all these other people are experiencing that you've seen. I could turn you human if you want to. It's like, just know you will die eventually, but whatever. And she's like, okay, sure. So then she turns Sprite human. And then
I've just looked at Mr. Fantastic's hand.
Goodbye. Oh, goodbye. And then fucking turns Sprite human. Cool, whatever. Fucking, and then I was like, I would have assumed you would have done something a little bit less cool to her, because she did just try to end everything, but all right. She did also just try to stab and kill you, but okay. But we'll keep going. We'll keep going. And then, so then it's like, okay, guys, we fucking did it. Good job. Love you guys. This was a great family. Whatever bullshit. And then they fuck off back to their lives, right? Everyone goes back to their shit. Well, no. But what happens is, so they decide then that they need to go find the other Eternals and tell them that this is the other bit that ties into why I think it's kind of carte blanche for the entire Eternals, not just them, right?
Okay.
Is because they say we have to now go find the other Eternals that he made to tell them what Arashem's goal actually was.
Yeah, was that Druid getting to the other girl? Like,
Druid, Makari,
that's their mission.
Makari, and I think Thena.
Yeah, Thena was
There's three of them. they decide that we have to go find the other Eternals and tell them what Arashem's plan for us actually is.
Mm-hmm.
So they fuck off into space in the ship. The other half stay on the planet. So Cersei, Phastos, and Sprite stay on the planet, while the others fuck off. And then so it's all like nice resolution shit, and like fucking Cersei and Dane are fucking chilling. Fucking Kit Harington's back in the movie now for the last 2 minutes.
Yay!
And it's like all happy, and then all of a sudden storm clouds out of nowhere, and then you see the six lights in the sky looking like Arashem's face or whatever, and then dramatically the clouds part really fast, and there's the hulking mass of Arashem in the sky, and
which
shoots
I
down.
honestly thought was like a pretty cool moment.
That was pretty cool.
It looked cool, but it was so out of place. Like, it felt real jolting and out of nowhere, which I guess it's supposed to. But like, after everything,
kind of like
in that
the
movie,
end of Mortal Kombat, when like at the very end, when it's like, oh, now there's a new baddie, and then out of the clouds comes, you know, Shao Kahn or whoever that bad guy was.
I've got to tell you something. You guys did great.
Bow to me.
What is it? The Emperor.
You weak, pathetic fools. I've come for your souls.
I don't think so.
Just like that. It was so out of place. Just like, what the fuck?
And then the music kicks in, and then like, But no, there's more to the scene.
It was exactly like that. But like, so he shoots down some fucking power bubble bullshit and grabs her and pulls her out into space with the rest of the Eternals that are there. And Dane's like, "Oh no, Cersei, come back!" And Arashem's just like, "All right, you killed an Eternal. Like, you did that. I'm not gonna kill you. But like, just know that we will come back at some point and judge you, and this could be bad for you, essentially." Mm-hmm. And like, and I think they bring it up in this, but in other places they have, and in the comics, his name's Arashem the Judge, right? That's his title.
I am the law.
So yeah, so he's like, we'll come back and judge you, and this could go bad for you. If you've done, if you do what we want, whatever, bullshit. Basically setting up your next big conflict for the MCU, essentially, right? And then he poops him back onto Earth, and then everything's fine, whatever.
Everybody's like, what the fuck?
End of movie. What is he? He poops him back, doesn't he? What does he do with him?
No, he says, he grabs up fucking Cersei, Kingo,
everyone that's left on Earth,
and every Eternal on Earth, and says,
he tells them that shit.
Y'all killed the Celestial, so now I'm gonna take your memories and judge whether Earth is worth saving. And then he fucks off with them. He brings them with him into wherever he goes in space.
And that's why we leave. So the last shot is Kit Harington being like, "Uh-oh," and then that's like the last shot.
Whatever. I don't give a fuck. It's still stupid.
Brodsho,
and then
get it right if you're gonna bash it, okay?
I'm checked out at this point, dude. I'm just like, okay, cool, whatever. Credits happen. Soon as the fucking credits hit the screen, your boy pops on his phone because he's so pissed. I'm so angry at this point.
Because so angry.
So angry. So I typed this huge diatribe.
Why you have to be mad? It's only movie.
Just a little diatribe, real quick. I say that I'm watching Eternals, right? You can do that on Facebook, right?
What?
I know, right? And then I find out today that a bunch of people had, like, if you tagged Eternals in your Facebook status, that there's a lot of people who saw that their stuff was flagged for spam and removed.
Oh, no.
And it didn't matter if it was positive or negative, just Eternals in general. If you tagged it, it got flagged and removed. And I was like, huh. I thought about it, and I was like, I was kind of confused why people were reacting and commenting to the stuff I posted after, but not the first one. And I went and checked, and sure enough, I got fucking zucked. My fucking first one got taken off. Yeah, but well, you know, I typed that diatribe, sent it off, whatever. Mid credits happen, which is our Eternals in space.
Yeah, Pip the Troll
and my boy
Eros.
Pip the Troll, as voiced by Patton Oswalt, shows up. And he does like, oh, the so-and-so, the Prince of Titan, brother of Thanos, the Eternal Star Fox, whatever. And
this dude is
fucking
horny.
Harry Styles bumbles in and is just like, oh, hey guys, I'm fucking Eternal, let's go fucking do some shit. And then he's kind of they address this in later comics, but he's kind of problematic because he can control people's like pheromones and shit like that.
He's a womanizer.
So, he gets accused in like a She-Hulk storyline. He gets taken to court for like someone claims that he like essentially like manipulated their pheromones into like having sex with them and shit like that.
Oh no,
like,
they got Me Too'd like Cosby.
Yeah.
He's the Cosby of the MCU.
Yeah, pretty much.
Oh boy.
But so he gets introduced. Cool. That's the end of that. We already talked about the huge issues that presents on a surface level. And then,
surface level. We have yet to see more.
We have yet to see what they make of it. But then we get post-credit scene. Post-credit scene is more set up. We get Dane Whitman sitting there, and he's all like, oh, should I open it? Should I not open it? His fucking box. He opens the box, and there's like some weird like energy or like wind type whatever bullshit,
like
psychic shit happening. Yeah. And it's the Ebony Blade that we were talking
Sounds
about.
like dark
earlier.
magic to me.
Yep.
Like
it's
dark
Cursed
magic
Blade.
to me.
Cursed Blade, that's entrusted to his family, I think. He wields it as his weapon as the Marvel superhero, the Black Knight. And then completely
Black and
like
white. Am I right?
It sounds problematic to me.
Because he's a white guy.
Then you hear a voice off screen. That's just like, are you sure you want to do that or some shit like that?
Yeah, Mahershala.
Right? That's what's funny is me included and everybody else in the fucking theater assumed that was Samuel L. Jackson.
Oh no,
right?
I'm putting together another team.
Pretty much, like that's what it felt like, right?
I need your sword.
It's not till a bunch till the story breaks later. That's Mahershala Ali's first appearance as Blade. That's Blade.
Mm-hmm.
And
just his voice.
Just his voice.
Just his voice, because Kit Harington didn't know who he was talking to in the post-credit scene. Like he wasn't there; it was just a voiceover. Which to some people is confusing. Again, to people like me that are turbo nerdy, there's essentially a British equivalent of S.H.I.E.L.D. called MI13. And MI13 has Captain Britain on it, Black Knight, Blade, and like other British heroes. So again, the Excalibur thing earlier, Ebony Blade being brought up, and then Ebony Blade showing up at the end, him whatever.
Well, they brought up
some sort of setup.
They brought up vampires.
Blade.
They brought up vampires.
Yep.
With Kingo or whatever his name is. This guy tried to stab me with a stake. Thought I was a vampire.
And then Blade at the end. It could be a hint at an eventual forming of MI13 or something similar. So that could be what that is, and that might be why Blade was in it. That's the only real explanation as to why Blade would be in that. But yeah, that was the
you get the tease. I like the tease.
I like the tease, but again, nobody fucking knew that that's who that was.
Yeah, they're like, who? Who's this? Why?
Random random dude with booming voice off to the side. It's probably Samuel L. Jackson. That was the like.
All right, Nick Fury,
I mean?
woohoo!
But no, it was Blade, I guess. But yeah, and thus ended that movie. So my gripes with this movie, if you were following along,
no, I wasn't really. I actually, I wasn't even recording.
What? What? No, it's the pacing.
Yeah.
To me, was horrible. Horrible pacing throughout that movie.
Sure.
The jolting back and forth to the flashbacks, like it felt like you were being jolted back. Like
that was
really
jarring.
Weird cut to flashbacks.
Yeah.
That was weird. So a lot of the pacing shit was weird. The fucking special effects, like I said, were terrible. For like it was either cloaked by darkness, or the parts where it was shown in broad daylight outside of the first scene, just looked terrible.
Mm-hmm.
Now, one thing I didn't really fully get into, but kind of talked about, was that the performances, right? I think I said I liked about half of them. For like the Eternals in general.
I think you got mad weary halfway through.
I did, yeah. I got mad weary. So, the ones I liked, the performances I liked Gemma Chan. I thought she did well. I thought she kind of anchored as the lead of the movie pretty all right. Fucking Kumal, as much as like a lot of the humor I didn't like, I thought he did well. What's his fuck Don Lee, I guess, is his like US movie name that played Gilgamesh. I enjoyed him quite a bit.
He liked his listening to Merle.
Yeah, dude. He just sounded like a dude. Like I liked him.
He was listening to fucking Merle Haggard when he opened the door in Australia.
Hell yeah. And then I liked Angelina Jolie, surprisingly to me. I didn't think I would. I enjoyed her. Now, the opposite side of things, Richard Madden, I thought was just very one note the whole time. Like he was pretty neutral, kind of boring.
Okay.
Again, I'm not saying it's necessarily their fault. It might be they weren't given much to work with script-wise, because I thought it was written terribly too. Sprite, I'll go back and forth on, because some of the stuff, like the first scene when we meet her is kind of fun. It's really when you start wedging in the she's in love with Icarus stuff, and then just the like constant like I don't like my life stuff over and over again, that became annoying. So about half of her performance I liked, half of it I didn't. Dude who played Druig, did not like at all. Didn't like him at all.
No?
I thought his came off very much like he was reading lines the whole time. Felt like he was acting. It didn't feel like he was the character, right?
Okay. Yeah,
again,
I get you.
Again, not saying it's his fault. You know what I'm saying? I'm not trying to say that this dude's a shitty actor. Just saying in the context of this movie, that's what it felt like. Who else am I missing anybody of that main group?
Makari, did you say?
Brian Tyree Henry I liked a lot. He might have been like my favorite one, because he actually felt like he was his character. He felt like he gave a shit. He felt like he had like serious motivations. Like he felt like, as much as we didn't spend as much time with him like we didn't with everybody, I felt like he felt like a developed character. Makari is whatever.
Her and Droog had something, didn't they? They were like being
which was
flirty.
Again, it wasn't developed enough for it to totally make sense. There's just flirtations, and then all of a sudden they're kind of together. Her performance, that's harder for me to judge. again, because obviously she was, she was using sign language the whole time. But I feel she emoted well, but I don't. And she had a fun attitude to her, I guess. But
yeah, I thought so too. She's playful.
But again, there just wasn't enough there, I guess. She kind of felt like how Sprite to me should feel, like playful and having an attitude to her, which she was every once in a while, Sprite, but not as much as Makari was.
Mm-hmm.
Dane, fucking Kid Harington's whatever, because he was in it for like 2 minutes. It's whatever. He didn't do good or bad. It's just he was there.
Selma?
Who?
Selma Hayek? Ajax?
Oh, I could give a shit. Like, she's serviceable. He fills her role. But again, due to the fact that she's just in the flashbacks and then dies, like, right away, like, okay, whatever. But, like, so I'm about, maybe 50-50 on the cast. And a lot of it has to do with we're just not given time with any of them to really form much of an attachment. The ones who did the best job with what they were given are the ones that I gravitated towards, I guess. Yeah, like as far as acting, that's part of it. I did not like the color in the movie.
The color?
I thought it was like the color, like the aesthetic of like the whoever did color correction for the movie. I was not a fan of what they did.
Okay. Any specifics that stand out that are just bad?
Everything just seemed samey. Like it didn't feel outside of like maybe when they were in like Babylon or whatever, where everything was really green and stuff like that.
Okay.
But everything else just seemed sapped of color. Like it felt like a Scott Snyder movie, or Zack Snyder. Sorry.
Scott Snyder.
I would say Scott Snyder is a DC writer.
Okay.
But
it felt like a DC writer.
Yeah, who wrote Batman. But it felt like a Zack Snyder. Like the thing people complain about with Zack Snyder, where all the colors are kind of dull, and like that's kind of, especially their costumes. Again, Kirby, a lot of bright colors, a lot of whatever. Icarus's costume is like blue and red and yellow, and it's just like in your face.
Mm-hmm.
In this, it's just a really flat blue with some gold accents to it. Like stuff like that. I hate, like, at this point, you should be able to accept the vibrant ridiculousness of superhero costumes.
It's better in picture, though, to kind of dial back on some colors when you're doing a lot of special effecs. I'll just say that.
Yeah, exactly.
I'll just say that.
And that's what I think too, is that a lot of it comes to the special effects stuff. I think part of what it is a budgetary issue. As was touted so many times when talking about this movie.
Mm-hmm.
They didn't do the thing where they filmed all the shit in Georgia and had a special effects house craft everything, where it has these big CG backgrounds and everything. It was Chloe Zhao was very firm in wanting to film on location. So, ass ton of money spent going to all these different places, shipping all these people.
You think that was
over there?
You think that was a Chloe Zhao move?
Yeah.
Okay, I didn't know if it was a producer thing or.
Yeah,
no,
that was. I've also read that it was her being very vocal consistent. That she was, it needs to be on location in these places.
Yep. So I think a lot of budget is ate up with that. Fucking getting the rights to use "Time" by Pink Floyd is not cheap. Because Pink Floyd does not get used in very many movies because of the fact it's very expensive to get their fucking music. And that amount of actors and everything. I think there was a budgetary mismanagement that led to the lackluster look of the movie.
Mm-hmm.
As far as special effects went. Not enough time spent because they didn't have money to spend, so a lot of shit got cloaked in darkness. And the shit you did see looked bad. I think it was a lot of that.
Was this supposed to kick off Phase 4? What?
No, the first Phase 4 movie was
Black Widow?
No. It was
Shang-Chi?
I don't know. Trying to remember if Far From Home.
Shang-Chi feels like the first kickoff of Phase 4.
I'm trying to remember if Far From Home was the last Phase 3 movie, or if that was the start of Phase 4.
Shang-Chi didn't have enough bigger picture things to make it.
I don't know, Brodsho. I guess we'd have to look it up to know what technically they count it as. Cause...
I'm on it. Even though I'm on my diatribe, I will still fulfill.
But Shang-Chi feels like a
Yeah.
setup for Phase 4, where you got Wong going off with Abomination. You've got that end tease with this shit's calling out to somebody, and you've got who are the two Avengers?
In Shang-Chi, Hulk is in there, and Captain Marvel.
Hulk. So those are known characters already. However you feel about either one of them.
Mm-hmm.
Let me see here.
Star Fox coming in, that's a brand new character that you have to still set up. So unless you know him from the comics, nobody's excited.
First Phase 4 movie was Black Widow. That's the first Phase 4 movie.
That's a weird one.
It is weird.
I wouldn't have thought that. But it does set up stuff.
It does.
Right?
The only thing that it sets up is fucking Yelena going after Hawkeye.
Yep.
That's it.
To potentially for her to take over the role as Black Widow. That's the other thing.
Yeah, but that feels so. That feels so small scale compared to.
And then that's the first film.
Shang-Chi introduces it was kind of like Doctor Strange, where it's here's this whole new world.
That's the first film, but realistically, the first Phase 4 thing was WandaVision.
Sure.
That was the first Phase 4 thing.
Yeah.
Right?
Okay. Yeah, I can see that with the
So we
multiverse
had
of madness
WandaVision,
thing happening.
Well, and Falcon Winter Soldier. Those both came out before Black Widow.
Yes.
And those are both part of Phase 4.
Well, and I guess the end of Loki maybe too.
Well, Loki is Phase 4 as well.
I know.
That came out
setting up so much more
after
stuff
Black
too.
Widow.
It's setting up.
So the first Phase 4 things we had were WandaVision and Falcon Winter Soldier. The first movie is Black Widow. But yeah, so that's where we're at phase-wise. So this sets up a potential danger for the Avengers. An interesting thought I had, I discussed this with Chuck the other night, is we have the Eternals, or the Celestials, we have RSM saying, we will, cast judgment upon you and upon the planet, whatever. So what that leads me to, it's another tangential, it's a direct connection with the Celestials. What do we have coming at the very end of Phase 4?
Like a movie?
This is a question.
I don't know.
It's pretty much
like Fantastic Four?
Fantastic Four, right?
That's at the end. That's at the end of Phase 4.
And then that's the right now that is the end of Phase 4, as that we know so far.
Cool.
That's next year. I don't know if we'll say that's the end of Phase 4, but that's coming, right?
Okay.
That's a movie that the Fantastic Four is steeped both terrestrially and cosmically, right? So they are a link between our terrestrial heroes and our cosmic heroes, all right? And those characters. And who then in that is rumored to be a big bad at some point?
Galactus?
All right. Galactus, his origin is he is empowered by the Celestials. So...
Oh, and Galactus connects to Silver Surfer somehow to judge Earth?
So, yes.
Okay.
Yeah, Silver Surfer's his herald, right? He's the
I know my
Galactus.
SS. I know my Silver Surfer, bro.
Yeah.
I know my Silver Surfer.
Galactus gives Silver Surfer a piece of his power cosmic.
Yep.
That's why he's all powerful. But he is somebody that is given power by the Celestials.
Mm-hmm.
So, then in my mind, forming connections, potentially, Galactus could be the one that is sent to pass the judgment on Earth, or to take out Earth, right? After the Celestials have passed judgment on the Earth. He could have, if we want to go with the Marvel trope, that using names of comic events that not always necessarily tie into what the actual movie is about.
Oh.
You could call it Annihilation.
Okay.
Which is a cosmic event with the Fantastic Four villain Annihilus, who's like this kind of bug dude, and he's got like hordes of like bug type people.
Hey, more bugs.
That goes and wipes out planets across the universe as they make their way to Earth. You can rope that into it too if you want to. But I think this will tie in then our new cosmic people. So we have the Eternals. We have Adam Warlock getting introduced in Guardians.
Yeah.
All the Guardians are pretty much done after this, but we got Adam Warlock. We've got fucking Captain Marvel. So we got our cosmic people coming into play. Mm-hmm. We got Fantastic Four with the big ties to both terrestrial and cosmic. Being able to tie all this together.
Doctor Strange.
You got Kang.
The multiverse shit. We got Kang. I think Kang is like the mini big bad, right? I think he is a dude that is going to be something they have to contend with, but I don't think he is the big bad.
No.
I think this is building to a conflict with the Celestials, and I think the key connector to that will be Galactus and the Fantastic Four. That's just what I think. Probably wrong, but that's another connection that I can make between the Celestials and what Marvel has coming.
Well, yeah, I was on board with that after Thanos even. I was like, all right, well, where do they go from here? Well, they should go cosmic. Yeah. They got to go cosmic.
They should go, and Galactus makes the most sense, right?
Yeah, it does.
And
I actually just wanted to be selfish and be like, all right, they just need to slide Silver Surfer in somewhere. They need to get him in there.
Oh yeah, he has to, like, if it's Galactus, our boy Norrin Rad is connected to that.
They got to be, they're a packaged duo there.
Yeah.
Can't have one without the other.
Fucking Silver Surfer comes to prepare the planet for its final judgment, right?
Yep.
And Fantastic Four, because that's the thing too, is like they only acquired these Fox properties somewhat recently, right? And X-Men, they're giving wide berth, right? They're giving that, we have nothing scheduled for that. But almost immediately they put Fantastic Four in the mix. And to me, other than just the fact of they don't have a long-standing franchise like X-Men did, that you might want a bit of time between, to me, it also signals that they will fit in with what their plan is going forward. Kang, also big tie to Fantastic Four as well, because Kang is a descendant of Reed Richards' dad. His name is Nathaniel Richards, which is the name of Reed's dad. So there's a connection between them and Kang, and then there's also connection of them with Cosmic Celestial shit, with Galactus and all the other stuff they've done in space. So I think the reason why they got, not only because of the fact there's no, important franchise that people have loved, like the X-Men, it also the fact that they fit in well with where they're going. So, yeah. So, in summation.
Yeah. Can we talk now?
Just a second. Once I do this, then it's free game.
Okay.
In summation, Eternals, I did not like primarily for technical and formal movie stuff, primarily.
Okay. Fair enough.
It also produced my other big hang-up was the potential continuity shit with Thanos, right?
Potential.
Which may or may not be an issue.
Yeah.
Like I said, potential.
They really tickled
your
off there. Like they just.
Dude, it pissed me off because as they're laying it out to us, that is the easy. Don't think too hard of how they can talk their way out of it. They presented that thing. They presented Eternals, robots, Thanos, Eternal. Therefore, by the transitive property, Thanos, robot. Okay? That's just, in the very barest, simplest way, that's the connection you can make.
You could. Definitely could.
And yes, there is an element of me that is mad because of how mistreated my boy Jack Kirby has been by Marvel specifically. He was mistreated by DC. They've tried to make things right sooner than Marvel did.
What did this guy do? I mean, what the hell?
What did he do besides create the Marvel universe?
They just hate on this guy just for no reason.
That led little side digression. That's really quick. That's what led to like the big creator rights thing in comic books and the rise of independent labels in comic books. Was how Marvel was doing Jack Kirby dirty. They realized if they can fuck Kirby over, the guy who gave them their success, they could fuck anybody over. So it's like, so that's like, a big reason Image happened, a big reason like a bunch of that stuff happened was because of what they did to Kirby.
Why were they dicks to Kirby? Like, what would be their gain from that?
The comic business still isn't fair, but back then it really wasn't fair because it was just, again, everything that comics did was work for hire, which meant we hire you to do this. Anything you create, we own. That's it, right? So no profit sharing, no like creation benefits, no royalties, nothing like that, right?
No dental.
Yeah. Because he wasn't a salaried employee, right? So basically, which Kirby was never a great businessman. That like Joe Simon, his partner, who he co-created Captain America with, was more savvy and had a more lucrative deal worked out with that. But like he was never the businessman, and he was quiet. He just wanted to do the work to make money for his family. And then once it got later in his career and Marvel was blowing up and making millions of dollars off of the characters he created, and he was seeing none of that. And he still had to, break his back to make money for his family. That's when he was something he really loved that he was creating, kept in his back pocket for 5 years, never showed Marvel. But then when he left Marvel and DC was like, hey, come over here, he busted it out, and that was New Gods, which again, he got fucked over by like business format changes and stuff like that at DC, which led to that to get canceled and his other books to get canceled, which absolutely killed him because that was like his passion project. So then he went back to Marvel in the 70s. And he had a run on Black Panther, which was a character he co-created in Fantastic Four. And he had a run on Captain America. And then that's when he did Eternals for Marvel. That was his next big mythological god thing that he wanted to do, since he couldn't finish New Gods for DC. And then that got canceled too after like a year and a half. I think he did 19 issues, maybe, of Eternals. 16, something like that, which is roughly a year and 3 months, roughly. But yeah, so what I'm talking here when I say like created the Marvel universe, this guy co-created Captain America, the Fantastic Four, the Hulk, Iron Man, X-Men, Ant-Man and the Wasp, like Black Panther, like anything related to Fantastic Four and those things like the Inhumans and Doctor Doom and Magneto and like all those characters. Daredevil, he had a hand in the design for arguably co-created Spider-Man. You could get semantics in that, but there's pretty good evidence that he was the one who brought the idea of Spider-Man to Stan. The only big characters that he didn't create are again Spider-Man to a degree, and Doctor Strange, which were both Ditko.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, like now with certain movies like Shang-Chi, he didn't create, stuff like that. But like and there was even more so how he was more of a creator than like Stan was.
Yeah.
There was this thing called the Marvel Method, right? Which was birthed out of necessity because at the point when Kirby came back to Marvel, Marvel was in dire straits and was about to go out of business. Stan had to pretty much fire everybody that was on payroll. So it was just him and like some secretaries and like some artists that he paid for work for hire stuff. Nobody that was a Marvel employee that was an artist. So he was writing everything out of necessity because he couldn't afford to pay writers. So he came up with the thing called the Marvel Method, where since he'd have to write a bajillion books, what he did was at most would write a couple paragraphs describing what he had as an idea for the story. Then he'd hand it off to the artist, in most cases being Kirby, because he was the one when he came back, he was the workhorse. The dude would do like 3 pages a day, like just nuts, like work pace. So he would give him that. Kirby then would craft the story, right? All the story beats, all the, how it looked, everything, including dialogue guides, right? Because like, how are you going to make a story without a general idea of what dialogue's going to be? And then he'd give that back then to Stan. Stan would look at it, pick and choose what he wanted for dialogue or zhuzh it up a little bit, fill in the dialogue. There goes, that's the book, right? And then in case of Kirby and Ditko, especially as it was going on, like further down the line after a couple years, he trusted those guys to get the work done. So he would just call them and be like, hey, I need a new issue of Fantastic Four. Could you, cook something up? So then they would do all of it, pretty much. Craft the story, the idea, all of it. Send it back to Stan. Then he would, again, use that guide of the dialogue suggestions they provided in the margins, and then would kind of rework it and do it his way. And that's how a majority of Marvel books were made in that time. So that can be argued that the artist was the one who wrote it, right? But Stan would get all the credit. And Stan, being the stellar marketing guy that he was, the stellar ambassador he was the loud one that talked and went on speaking tours and everything. So it was real easy for him to claim credit for everything, right? So like you had like to the point where like 10 or so years ago, there was a documentary, I think Jonathan Ross, the British talk show host.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Called Finding Ditko, I think, about Steve Ditko.
Nice.
And because he's a big comics guy. And he was they interviewed Stan, He was talking about like, you know, like, will you say that, you know, because he never said that, would never budge and say that Ditko was a co-creator of Spider-Man.
Oh no!
And he's like, will you say that he, you know, was a co-creator of Spider-Man and or whatever? And Stan was just like, well, if he wants to say he's a co-creator of Spider-Man, sure. Which is a deflectionary thing. He does not acknowledge it. But if Ditko wants to say that he co-created it, sure, whatever. So, yeah.
Yikes! Yeah, that's a big yikes.
Stan's a big dick, and that led a lot of those dudes to either, you know, have to work longer than they should have to make money for their family, or even in the case of people like Bill Finger.
Oh, and, man, Bill Finger.
And, yep.
His dynasty, his livelihood, his family. They're just seen as like, Simon, he's co-created or with Bob Kane.
Yep. And which is a big thing because he was never included before.
No, it's big, but that's all they get. That's all they get. They don't get any monetary things.
Simon and Schuster, the creators of Superman, they, like, people like them died in poverty because of these terrible deals, right? Where they gave DC and Marvel these characters that they're still making millions of dollars off of.
Oh, of course. It's the life of an artist.
And they saw nothing from it. So so Kirby was the same way. And he gave so much over, you know, he started working in comics in the 40s. Before that, he was an in-betweener at Fleischer Studios working on Popeye. You know, the in-betweeners were the guys that, like, you had your main animator that would do the main poses for him, right? And then the in-betweeners were the guys that filled in the movements in between. So he was an in-betweener for Fleischer for a while.
Okay.
And then he got into comics, and he was in Marvel for the 40s. He left, worked for DC for a little bit in the 50s, started his own studio with Joe Simon, his partner, that he co-created Captain America with for a little bit. That partnership broke up. He went back to Marvel in like 1961. That's when he retooled his idea of the Challengers of the Unknown that he did for DC into the Fantastic Four for Marvel, and birthed the Marvel Age of Comics, where he, you know, whatever. And then, like I said,
what was his title?
He left.
What was his title at Marvel and DC?
Nothing. He didn't have a title.
That's where things are wrong right off the bat.
He's a work for hire artist.
Right, but nowadays you would have like executive artistic director or some like title to go with it.
Nope. Still that way at Marvel DC. Everything's work for hire. You have no, unless you are a writer / artist that has made them an ass ton of money, will they even consider giving you participation in certain things? But you have to be someone like Neil Gaiman or Scott Snyder or like people like that.
So who takes credit? Who, like, does Marvel, the company, take the credit and not just one single face of Marvel? Like Stan Lee would be I did it all. It's me.
Oh no. It's an unspoken thing. People now know the deal, right? When you do work for hire, they know the deal. They don't like it, but a lot of times, like, that's their chance. A lot of times, how the career arc for writers and artists in comics goes is they start out doing like this little independent book that gets attention from the big two. The big two then bring them on to do some work for hire stuff. The hope then is that their name gains traction in the public conscious of readers. So then when they become big enough and have made enough money there, they can go back to doing independent books at like an Image or something like that, and hope their readership follows them there, where then they will make their money, right? That's the hope. That's the primary career line that these guys want. Nobody just wants, I mean, I'm sure there's some, but nobody wants to just be that job guy that works writing Batman forever. You know what I mean? No, that's nobody's career objective at this point. And then after you do your creator-owned thing for a while, maybe Marvel DC will throw you an ass ton of money to come back and do a story on the character that you were best known for. You know, that's how the career thing works now. Marvel DC will never say, like, you're not going to get credits in, like, say, a new character, like a, let's say, Winter Soldier, right? Mm-hmm. In the credits of that book, if there's a Winter Soldier book, you will never see Bucky Barnes created by Joe Simon and Jack Kirby, Winter Soldier created by Ed Brubaker and Steve Epting, or whoever was the artist at the time. You will never see that. That'll never be there.
Seems to me
it was work for hire.
That's, I don't know.
There's never creator credits unless it's something that was stipulated in a contract. In the case of Bob Kane with Batman,
right? Or
you're doing it because you feel like you have to make it right, which is the case sometimes with like people like Kirby or Bill Finger, because now Batman books say created by Bob Kane with Bill Finger, whereas before, ever since Batman was created, it legally had to say Batman created by Bob Kane. Now they include Bill Finger in that. So yeah, I mean, in the world of the big two comics, stuff is still very not on the creator's side and not always the best.
No, it sounds horrible for a creator. Like, if anything, in the least, just put Jack Kirby's name created by, you know, like this character was created by. That's it. In the least.
They'll do that. They'll do that now with like New Gods stuff. They'll do like New Gods, Jack Kirby's New Gods, or New Gods created by Jack Kirby. Like, they'll do that now. But like, I don't think he gets any like monetary, or his heirs get any monetary participation.
Nope. Same
necessarily. They probably get a little something. But
they get the notoriety, I guess.
Yeah, I guess. So we have some very recent examples of creators being mad about stuff like this. You have Ed Brubaker, who I mentioned who created the idea of the Winter Soldier. You know, he didn't create Bucky Barnes, obviously. That was Kirby and Simon. But he, along with whoever the artist was, I think it was Steve Epting, created this idea of the Winter Soldier and created the storyline in which the Winter Soldier is brought in. He was saying that he makes more from royalties from a cameo he had in like one of the Marvel movies than he's made from co-creating Winter Soldier.
That right there is a bad sign.
Yep. Right now, the Hawkeye series that's coming out.
Tell me more about these hot guys.
This Hawk guy. That series is heavily based on the Hawkeye run by Matt Fraction and David Aja from 2006-ish. Visually, story-wise, characters like Lucky the Pizza Dog, the Tracksuit Mafia, like all this stuff is straight from the Hawkeye, that Hawkeye series. Someone had made a comment on Twitter where they had a poster where it's Hawkeye, Kate Bishop, and Pizza Dog standing, and in the background there's like an arrow, like a purple outlined arrow pointing down with like a cityscape in the arrow. The background is white around it. And the person was like, man, I love how much this Hawkeye series is obviously based off the Matt Fraction run. And then somebody was like, chimed in, it was just like, you know, I always kind of get sick of when people only credit the writer of a certain thing. You know, it's, you know, people should also be crediting David Aja for this. And then the person was like very, you know, apologized, like, yes, I'm sorry, you're right. Like, David Aja deserves all the glory as well. And then David Aja chimes in going, he's like, screw credit, just pay me. You know what I mean? Like, I don't need credit, just give me what I'm owed, right? Another good example, one of the best examples, I think, is Todd McFarlane, right?
Yeah.
Fucking co-creator of Venom, you know, had a stellar run on Spider-Man, Amazing Spider-Man, then got his own Spider-Man book, and then due to his frustrations with creator rights, like where they're making all this merchandise with his artwork on it and he's not making any money from it. He always famously says too, he's like, I don't get one copy of the shirt, not one copy even. So it's like, that's, you know, impetus for him to fuck off and leave and then eventually form Image Comics, right?
Mm-hmm.
So he made a comment where he made more money from a random character that he forgot he co-created on the DC comic Infinity Inc. in the 80s before he was at Marvel. For their cameo or their role on the Stargirl TV show, he made more from that than he's ever made from Venom.
Oof.
Which is huge. Venom, one of the biggest characters in comics, period. Has a movie out. Has 2 movies out. Has been in a movie in the past. He made more from that random character he forgot he created who made an appearance on Stargirl. Like, that is like, I was Jim Starlin, the guy who fucking created Thanos. Made more money from his cameo in a movie than he ever made from, you know, creating Thanos. Like, it's a problem still. Like, this isn't a thing that ended after, you know, shit with Kirby happened and like the independents got created. That it still happens and still will happen. Yeah, it's a bummer.
Very
and
much
Kirby
a
is
bummer.
the most famous one who got the shaft, right? There's other people who are less famous or have less name recognition that got even more shafted, but it's because they didn't work as much. Like Kirby was a workhorse, so that motherfucker just head down, draw. That's all he wanted to do. He just wanted to draw. But it was because of what he created for the company he created it for and the longevity of those characters and how royally he got screwed from it, that he is the one that is the focal point of all this, right? Every time I get a new book about Kirby, I always start like, hell yeah, fucking Kirby awesomeness. And I always end up very sad at the end because of how this poor bastard got just yanked around.
Oh, there's a ton of stories like that out there. It's sad. It happens everywhere, not just there. Like that's the one you focus on, but it happens everywhere. It's not just Kirby.
That's the one that's near and dear to my heart.
He's among friends.
He's my favorite.
Yeah,
yes,
he's definitely among a lot of great creators out there that don't get the recognition they deserve.
Dude, and he had his shit ripped off by like, there's the pop art movement in the 60s. Like Liechtenstein was probably like the most famous one, where he pretty much just lifted panels wholesale from comics and then just like added different touches to it. And he would sell those for thousands of dollars while the artists who really created that image didn't make shit. Fucking Star Wars, dude.
Yep.
Star Wars was... I didn't realize or think about it until recently when I was reading a book about the New Gods era of Kirby, that Star Wars... I mean, you know, obviously Star Wars wears its influences on its sleeve, right?
Yeah. Pretty easy.
Kurosawa's Hidden Fortress, fucking Dune, like all that shit, right?
Essentially that was the first emergence of the Brat Pack of the film world are like borrowing from the masters that came before them. They're just like, hey, I'm going to take this. I'm going to be the first one to take this and recontextualize it.
Yep. But I never realized then, like, so in New Gods, the power that flows through the New Gods and connects everything is called the Source, right? It's not far skip and a jump from the Force, right? Which I think also it's called the Force in the Inkle. Also, they have something called the Force in that.
Yeah, and the voice in Dune.
Yeah, and your main character fights your big behelmeted person, right? Who in the comics is called Darkseid, right? The dark side. And then it's revealed in a twist that the bad guy is the good guy's father, which is how it plays out in fucking New Gods. It's a twist that Darkseid is Orion's father. So there's like stuff like that I've never thought of before. So he like, you know, that's another thing, another influence worn heavily on, you know, Lucas's sleeve as well as New Gods shit. So it's like, yeah, I mean, you know, other people, it's not just the company that made or that paid the person to make that stuff for them that's made millions of dollars. It's also other people who have used that as influence on their stuff or outright ripped it off in the case of Liechtenstein to make millions of dollars also, right? And here's this person who has to work until pretty much their death to continue to provide food for their family, right?
Correct.
It's a bummer. But that's art.
It
and
is.
Thus, a big reason I was pissed off that, not the reason I was pissed off, but an added pissed off to bring it back to Eternals, why they just threw everything out, essentially. This was the big chance to adapt something so wholly and entirely Kirby that even like the, you know, they did it to the Eternals themselves with their costumes, and instead of the big bombastic in your face, you know, stuff of their powers and their costumes, it was all made sleek and shiny, you know, space chic essentially. And even the Celestials, right? The Celestials, which are one of the most Kirby fucking concepts ever that he did, which we saw in past movies, like I think in Guardians, it was like one of the first times we saw the Celestials.
Yeah, the dude with the
powers. They looked great there.
The Power
They were
Stone
big
guy.
and fucking chunky and fucking just lumbering badass. Like that's how they should look. And then we get to see them in Eternals, and they too have been made all sleek and shiny. And like they're all like elongated and skinny, and like the only thing that looks like the original Kirby design is their heads. Everything else is completely changed.
Right, they're very angular. In Kirby,
yes.
I'd imagine them being more
instead of big,
boxy.
blocky.
Yeah.
Yep, big, boxy, blocky, fucking brick shit houses of like fucking cosmic power. But you know, and like I said, my main reasons for disliking the Eternals had nothing to do with distance from source material. It was just like the icing on the shit cake. You know, it was the thing that not only did you make a bad movie and do some really confusing shit, you also completely neglected anything that you could have used from not only the Kirby stuff, but the other big one was a Neil Gaiman, John Romita Jr. series from the early 2000s that was really good too. Didn't use anything from that either. So it's just like, I don't know, man.
You think you've divulged enough hate towards the movie?
Yeah, you guys want to talk now?
Well, I wanted to give you the platform because you know the source material probably the best, and you know what it leads to and everything like that. But I'm sure.
Yeah, and like I said, not even a huge Eternals fan, right? I like how it looks, but that wasn't a story I connected to like I did with New Gods.
Okay.
It was the awkward like cousin to New Gods. Like he only did it because he couldn't finish New Gods, you know.
Okay. Now I think Wilson and I have questions. I want Wilson to ask questions.
Hit me.
I think he had
Hit
some.
me.
Well, I just like my questions are more about the movie rather than any kind of lore or anything.
Yep.
It just doesn't make sense to me that why does Icarus have to have a heel turn at all in the movie?
Doesn't make sense.
It's their
like
first
I said,
time
the only reason
this character, he can be around for a while. Don't give the audience a reason to hate him right out of the gate
from the beginning. For when he comes back, because you know he will. like for them to hate him and distrust him right away. He's never going to be that figurehead, hopeful Superman-like character. Dead. Well, you don't see the body, therefore there's no
body because you watch
we don't
him burn up. You watch him burn up. And
remember,
there's a copy. There's a copy of him somewhere.
And they've got a copy out there, so he will be back.
Sure.
So he's never going to be that hopeful Superman-like sun god that he is in the comics. He'll never be that to people because of
probably
that.
Not.
And the only reason I can think that they did that is because they had no central bad guy. The way the deviant thing was paced out, Crow wasn't a fully formed villain until the end, pretty much.
They could have just like rewritten that whole role or the deviants in general, and there could have been a villain.
Well, him and
like a traditional villain.
Him and Captain Marvel could hook up. Maybe she's the one to turn him back.
Well, yeah, I mean,
with who? Icarus?
I'm just thinking. I'm spitballing here because Cersei's going to go with Kit Harington and hang out with him. So obviously,
he did turn back though at the end. Is the thing. Icarus did turn back at the end because remember he apologized and got on his knees and cried and heroed himself into the sun because he realized he was wrong.
At that point, like the thing that he was fighting so hard for literally was like the objective didn't matter anymore. The objective had passed. So now he has no purpose and he's like, fuck, what have I done? So the audience understands that he has,
and he's left without his family, and now
he feels sad. So he's like, okay, I just want to end this. I'm done.
Yeah. So the heel turn was literally so you had a villain that you could focus on that there's actually a personal tie to the heroes, like a good villain has, right? As a tie to something that ties them to their hero, sometime throughout the movie. And also because he's the most powerful one. So he's the only one that it will take all of them to fight, you know?
Yeah.
Like even the deviants, like one or two of them could take down a deviant, right? So like even fucking Crow, who got taken down by Athena alone, right? He's the only one that was a viable enough threat for all of them to fight. So it was a terrible decision.
Okay.
You said it a couple times, but the writing in this was like a few of those characters I liked.
Yeah, me too.
I enjoyed seeing that. I just wanted more time with them.
Yep.
It makes me worried about some of these movies that could be made about teams that have large numbers.
Cast.
And not getting enough time with the characters that you want to have developed. Like it does give me a little bit of pause for X-Men, I guess.
Yeah.
Because
but see, we have
a lot of fun and interesting characters, but I don't want to like try to give everybody their moment to shine. Therefore, all of them become dulled. You know.
At this point, though, there's already a built-in familiarity now with the X-Men, or at least with some of the characters, where that's not as big of an issue. And another thing, too, with the big team thing is like the reason something like Avengers worked and something like Justice League didn't, similar to Eternals, is that Avengers, each of them had multiple movies building up to them coming together so that we actually knew these characters by the time they teamed up. That's why I don't like the first Avengers movie because there's no story to it, because there's no character development, and because that was all handled in the movies beforehand, and so you had whatever. You didn't have to do anything really. But that's the thing. Like why Avengers worked is because we had familiarity. Justice League didn't because the only characters we knew were Superman, kind of Batman, and a little bit Wonder Woman, and that's it, right? Everybody else was fresh to that movie, so it's like there's no connection. So it's like, and like with this, we don't know these characters. It's the first time we're getting to know them. Sure, we have a thing built in where all of them can come back, right? We can get Gilgamesh back. We can get Ajax back. We can get Icarus back. Do we want them back? I want Gilgamesh back, but that's about it. There's a very interesting thing they could do with Gilgamesh. His character in the comics one point after death and coming back becomes a character called the Forgotten One, and he wears this helmet that covers his face, and he's a little more on the gray side of things, not necessarily a hero, but not necessarily a villain. That's something interesting they could do with Gilgamesh, but I doubt they will. So like some of those characters we can get back, but is it going to be a happy thing to see them again? You know, because we had no connection really before they were killed off. So it's like, okay. You know?
Right.
I watched this less in the mindset of, oh, I'm gonna see a family of like normal familial relations of like brother, sister, father figure, whatever. And I was thinking more, I know it's a really like basic interpretation, but I literally was viewing this as like a Greek myth where these are like mythic god-like figures, which is how
which is the point.
Like, thought of these.
That's the point of the book, and that's kind of how they are in the books too.
The only reason they kept calling each other family, it felt so disingenuous because it's literally like, hello,
they did nothing
Icarus,
to earn it.
Sprite, Gilgamesh. They don't have real names. They're not real people. No. That's why I kind of accepted the robot thing a little bit more. It's because it's like they were turned on, which they literally were, and just told, go do this thing, which that's the only thing they know. So, of course, they have like blind faith until they start to question it.
I think Icarus has...
And that's probably something programmed into them to think of each other as family, right?
They called him Isaac at one point. Isaac and...
Well, that was a made-up name.
But still,
making up
all names are made up. All names are made up, guys.
Well, yeah, just to make it more, because she stumbled for a second thinking of a name that wasn't Icarus to tell Dane or whatever. You know, this is Isaac in the comic books. Hilariously, because Icarus doesn't suit up until like issue 6 or 7 of the comic books. He actually finds these like archaeologists to help him dig up some eternal shit, whatever. And his name in that is Ike Harris.
Okay.
Which is just
I got it.
Icarus, right? Ike Harris.
Yeah.
So I guess Isaac is kind of a call to that too, but because Ike is usually short for Isaac. But yeah, that's about as far as they go with names. But like you said, and the only reason I like railed so hard on the family aspect is because that's what's played up so much in the marketing of this, in the like interviews and stuff that they did with the cast, the director, Kevin Feige. Family was something they kept harping on.
I didn't follow a single part of the marketing.
Yeah.
I didn't know that was a thing, so I was like, oh, okay. I didn't know that it was supposed to be like a familial kind of movie.
Yeah. So then when they were doing it in there, and it was all platitudes and remember whens to stuff we never saw, it just made it feel like they were trying to force that family angle and without earning it, right? Which would they could only... Then that's the other thing with it too, is they try to hit you with everything about the mythos in this movie. Like it feels like a movie where they're like, by any other studio, where it's like, we don't know if we're ever going to be able to make a second movie of this, so we're going to throw everything we can from it into this first movie.
Yeah.
And which, like, if this was early Marvel Studios, I'd be like, yeah, that makes sense. But now they have enough faith built in by their like core fan base where they could have just kind of inched out some of this shit and then and developed it over 3 movies instead of, you know, laying it all on the line that first movie, you know. I know they're a little hesitant right now. It's an awkward time for them because they don't have the familiar names anymore and they have to build new properties. But they should see like the fact that Guardians of the Galaxy worked should have been something that they saw as, hey, we can fucking do this with a property nobody fucking knows.
Yeah.
And make a good movie out of it. And they could have taken their time then with all that Eternal shit, but they didn't.
No.
And by throwing in everything, including the kitchen sink, into this fucking movie, it weighed it down. And to some people, could probably make the whole thing impenetrable, right?
Were they trying to, in the marketing, claim that this was like a very agenda-based movie? Because there was a lot of people saying like, "Oh, I have issues now with the first sex scene. I have issues now with the first gay Marvel character. I have issues
yes
with
and no.
Both of which are
Yes and no.
fucking milk toast and like not an issue at all.
And
they
one of
no
them,
none of it.
and one of them ends up being one of the stronger parts of the movie, being Phastos' family and his connection with them. So it's like, but okay, so you're gonna get that Comicsgate, like more like against like anti-diversity for the sake of diversity group. That's gonna talk mad shit about the movie. Period. That's going to happen. And they should know. They know that by now. And any like the people who feel that way aren't going to see this movie. So like anybody, that's why I have a problem with. There's a lot of people, a lot of review sites and stuff like that, who are coming to this movie's defense, saying that the people who are talking bad about it are these people that so the only reason they think it's bad is because it's a woman director, it's diverse cast, and there's a gay couple in it. When in reality, those people were never going to see this movie, right? From the beginning, because those were things they wore on their sleeve in the marketing of the movie.
But do you think they're trying to rile that up? Like, do you think the marketing is like, all right, let's get these people pissed off so we can get more people in the seats?
No, I think it's part of it. Disney wants social credit, right? And they also know that will stir up attention. Any attention on a movie, any press is good press, right? So like anything that can add attention to this movie. This is a very cynical view that I'm saying, but like not untrue usually. So I think it was part sincere on maybe the creatives' part, the people who made the movie. It might have been sincere on the marketing aspect, and the corporate side of things, I think there is some fuckery going on. But yeah, because it was always, like I said, they focused on this sex scene a lot in recent articles. Chloe Zhao and Kevin Feige from the get-go were like, this is the most diverse cast. We did this to show that the human race is a like a quilt of people, of different types of people, and everyone's special in their own way, which again would make sense if these characters were actually humans, like they were in the book.
Yeah, and it does well in all those specific markets too. It does well in the Asian market. It does well in the Latino market. It does well all across the earth.
Yeah,
because it's so diverse.
It's been banned in like 7 countries because they refuse to cut the
mainly
like, homosexual
the gay family. Yeah,
that's
the mainly Middle Eastern countries and like China and stuff like that. Well, I don't know if it's banned in China, but China's probably not happy. They've been cracking down, as you know, on a lot of entertainment stuff, and the portrayal of men as anything but masculine heterosexuals is being kind of touted is in China as not good and probably won't
that's
be
that's very suspect because Disney loves to
China. Yeah, they've made
China.
A lot of contentions for China. Because that's one of the biggest film markets, obviously.
Exactly.
But again, maybe because of the controversy drummed up by it, it's going to make people pay attention and go see it, right? Because again, this is a property that very few people know. Even in the comic community, there's not a lot of people that are familiar with the Eternals. So like, again, in the very cynical way of looking at things, that might be a part of it. Because like I said, they touted the diverse cast, they touted the sex scene, they touted this is the first openly gay couple in the Marvel universe, whatever, as part of the marketing, a core part of the marketing the whole time.
I don't like that. I don't like that pandering at all.
No.
In the movie, like said, movie, it's fine. I don't mind it in the movie, but like marketing it as like, hey, come to the movie to see this.
Yep.
Minuscule part of this movie.
And especially if it's something that adds to the movie, like, great. Like I said, Phastos' stuff to me added to the movie. created an actual motivation for a character, of which the rest we didn't have.
The sex scene, though?
That was so milquetoast. Yeah. You're basically a sex scene.
The kiss and the sex scene were both so tame. Like, so quick on the screen. Even the sex scene, I was like, okay, I've heard, this is the one that I've heard the most about.
So
like,
if this is a family...
People are going to have depiction. People are always going to have, like, problems, sadly.
So it's a family. It's a brother and sister bang.
It's incest. Are they promoting incest in this movie? Is that what we're supposed to take away from here?
Well, especially Kid Love also, with Sprite being a little eternally a little girl that's in love with an adult man.
Yeah, pedophilia? That's not good for Disney. Yikes.
It is
incestuous pedophilia? Oh, you know.
It is mixed messaging when you have Cersei and Icarus making love, and then later on in the movie when Makari and Druig are getting, like, kind of flirty, I think Fastos or somebody is like, this happening? Nuh-uh. That's nah.
Yeah.
Yep.
When is this happening? What the hell?
Like, are you saying that because they're supposed to be like brother and sister, or
are you saying it because like you find that specific relationship doesn't make sense because you accepted the Cersei Icarus side of it?
That's weird.
That's kind of weird.
Yeah.
Just some of the story elements and the writing, like I feel like this probably would have been better, Eric, you're right, as like a 3-part, like spread it out.
Yep.
Take your time.
In most cases,
1-2 of these characters first, and then we'll slowly get introduced to more and more of the elements of their world and other characters on this team until we've got them all together. Or there's always now the option of it being a show format instead of a movie.
Yep.
That could have been great.
Oh yeah.
And in most cases, I'm like, I have a distaste for decompression of stories, right? Of spreading them out far too long without giving you anything. But like, this is one that really could have benefited from decompression. It give us more time with the characters to actually give a shit when any of them die or get together or betray the others, or you know what I mean? When you're just given this laid out, you don't care that any of this is happening.